welcome to part 1 of Horror Fabricate Dark Myths to Frighten Evil Gods. If you encounter any issues or have feedback, please let me know in the comments rather than just disliking the video. Your input helps me improve, and I'm here to make sure you have the best experience possible. Enjoy the content.
Chapter 1. Fengcheng. The moon is dark and the wind is high, and everything is dying. Golden Bay Apartments. In an ordinary dwelling, Yuan was flipping through a complete collection of ancient myths and legends of the Dragon Kingdom, and taking notes seriously. He is a graduate student in folk religion, and ancient mythology is the direction of his thesis. Sudden, the electric light above the head began to flicker rapidly at an extremely strange frequency. There was a strong musty smell all around for no reason. Even just smelling it made people want to vomit. An extremely cold and hoarse sound, like fingernails scratching on a blackboard, suddenly rang in Yuan's ear. The horror game is officially open. Welcome to join. Current game version 1.0. The world is changing silently, and fear is spreading silently. When horror and weirdness come to you, how will you deal with it? What is the truth of the world? What is the truth behind the hypocrisy? Take the time to smile. Maybe you won't be able to laugh again in the future. After all, you have to do your best to survive. Yuan couldn't help frowning. Thriller game? Horror and spooky? Hypocrisy and truth? What are these things? I've been working too long. Have I hallucinated? Yuan hesitantly raised his hand and rubbed his temple. Just when Yuan was hesitating whether to take a rest, in front of him, there was an illusory screen that suddenly flashed out. This is a screen made entirely of blood, exuding a strong smell of blood. It's even constantly agitating. It's as if there are countless ghosts sealed inside. They will break through the screen at any time and truly come to the world. Yuan couldn't help taking a step back. His fists were clenched for an instant. I just felt a sharp chill rushing straight to the top of the sky. The drowsiness from before also dissipated in an instant. Everything that happened in front of him has far exceeded his cognition. It is absolutely beyond human power. So, this is not a prank by someone or an organization, but the beginning of a true cataclysm? Crunch crunch, accompanied by a strange sound like chewing. On the scarlet screen, a new line of text appeared. Every word is extremely distorted, and there is an evil breath surging spontaneously. Oh, your name is Yuan? Congratulations, join this horror game full of horror. According to the rules of the game, each player will randomly obtain an initial reward according to the current environment. Maybe it's a weird jigsaw puzzle, maybe a cursed item, or maybe some kind of weird power. But whether you can manage it smoothly depends on yourself. Immediately afterwards, a dazzling bloody light burst out from the screen. Suddenly, it shone on Yuan and the complete works of Dragon Kingdom ancient myths and legends on the table. A mysterious black mist gushed out from the void, enveloping Yuan. Assignment complete. Congratulations to you for obtaining the only supreme and strange power of the horror game, Dark Myth. You can use weird puzzles or cursed props as basic materials to fabricate black myths and create brand new weird creatures. The strange creatures created will remain absolutely loyal to you and carry out any orders you have. Attention, the strength of strange creatures is related to two elements. First, the higher the quality of the weird puzzles and cursed props put in, the stronger the weird creatures will be. Second, the ghost puzzles and cursed props, the more they fit with the dark myth you made up, the stronger the strange creatures will be. Countless information poured into Yuan's mind. After a long time, it was only then that Yuan fully digested the information. A look of surprise burst out in his eyes. He basically understood the current situation. Under the influence of horror games, the entire blue star has undergone strange distortions. There are countless evil spirits, and there is no trace of pure land to speak of. The human players involved have only one choice. Actively integrate into the weirdness, control the weird puzzles and cursed props, and strive to survive. And Yuan was very lucky. By chance, he obtained a unique power, Dark Myth. This also means that he will embark on a path that is different from other human players. Fabricate black myths and create weird creatures. And those black mythical creatures will become the biggest capital for Yuan to survive in this terrifying world. Yuan couldn't wait for this. He thought about it. The surrounding environment suddenly and mysteriously changed. It's a very weird space. Endless mist surged, indescribable and indescribable, as if this was the beginning of everything, the origin of all things. Yuan himself is just at the core of this mysterious space. With every random movement, countless chaotic mist vibrated and buzzed. It's as if Yuan is the supreme master here. The bloody screen from before resurfaced again. This is your mythical space, where you can create freely and freely. However, since your current strength is relatively weak, it is recommended to start creating from a relatively low-level myth. Since this is your first time entering the mythical space, you have 3 extra chances to draw initial creation materials. Do you want to start the extraction now? Chapter 2. See this line for hints. Yuan frowned, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. It is worthy of being the sole supremacy of horror games. There is such a benefit. At that moment, Yuan nodded without hesitation. Draw now. The voice did not fall. The distorted handwriting on the screen immediately shattered and turned into countless black mist. The black mist vibrates wildly, like a wild ghost dancing. And there are 3 things that were quickly bred in the black mist. They are a rusty iron chain, a skull full of cracks, and an extremely black cloak. A horrifying chill flows over it, surging a kind of coercion from the soul. This is the initial material I extracted? Yuan looked at it curiously. The bloody screen also reappeared. The relevant information of these 3 materials is displayed. Rusty chains. Grade. 3-star curse prop. Introduction. The moment you pick it up, you can't escape. He will lock the enemy for you, and he will lock yourself too. Ghost skull. Grade. 2-star weird puzzle. Introduction. The wreckage of a powerful ghost after death seems to contain a very strong evil spirit. Dream back at midnight, you may be able to see this skull, calling your name. Strange cloak. Grade. 2-star cursed item. Introduction. A black cloak of unknown origin. Wearing it, you will gain special spiritual power. But as a price, your blood and essence will also be absorbed by him. Once this process starts, it is not up to you to decide when it will end. 1 3-star, 2 2-star, not bad. Yuan glanced at it. Among the ratings of this thriller game, cursed props and weird puzzles, divided into 10 stars. The higher the level, the more terrifying and mysterious it is. 2-star and 3-star can only be regarded as low level, but as the initial material, it is enough. Come over. Yuan raised his hand lightly. These 3 materials all flew to Yuan immediately. What surprised Yuan was, they all trembled slightly and hummed, as if they were low-level creatures expressing their surrender to an extremely great existence. You know, these weird puzzles and cursed props are all horrific things. It can be seen from the introduction. If human beings want to control them, they must pay a price. Those who work with weirdness will eventually become weird. But Yuan doesn't seem to have this problem. These weird puzzles and cursed props, subdued and cautious in front of Yuan, showed no sign of recovery at all. It seems that this is also a characteristic of the only supreme power. It saved me a lot of worries. The material is already there. The next thing to consider is what kind of dark myths to fabricate and which strange creatures to create. Yuan muttered to himself. His eyes turned back and forth on these 3 materials and fell into deep thought. Chains, skulls, black cloaks. This made Yuan immediately think of a familiar figure. Black impermanence. In folklore, Wukong is an underworld messenger, holding a chain of seductive souls, wearing a black cloak, wearing a high hat, and writing the words Tianxia Taiping. This image of a god fits very well with the 3 materials in front of me. At that moment, Yuan had a decision. The first strange creature he wants to create is Wukong. His power, of course, is a dark myth. Naturally, we cannot simply copy folklore. Instead, it must be adapted on the basis of folklore to make it more in line with the world rules of this horror game. Only in this way can we ensure that the black impermanence created will reach the peak level of terror. Call. Yuan took a deep breath. His eyes became extremely firm. He gently raised his hand. Strands of chaotic mist wrapped around the 3 materials like ropes. It drives the 3 materials to flip, collide, and roar. Everything is like a finger, smooth and smooth, without any delay. It's like the most outstanding puppeteer manipulating his marionette. Generally speaking, myths and legends will first describe an exaggerated background and origin. Then let me start with the origin first. Yuan focused his attention and opened his mouth slowly. 1 word at a time, like a heavenly constitution in your mouth. The words are loud and the voice is majestic. Where the heavens begin and where the worlds end, there is an infinite abyss. He spans endless years and covers infinite time and space. He is indescribable, incapable of peeping, incomprehensible. This is called the underworld. Along with Gu Yuan's eulogizing murmur, the chaotic mist in the mythical space also began to boil continuously. Each distorted character condensed into shape in the air, exuding a severe chill. It was as if there was an invisible carving knife engraving every word Gu Yuan said on the dome of this mythical space. Make it like eternal truth, eternal. All the sins of the heavens, the infinite evil thoughts of the myriad worlds, and the distortions of countless dimensions all gather in the abyss. Uncountable strangeness, born from the deep abyss and destroyed by the deep abyss. Gu Yuan continued to speak leisurely. Start. Finally. End. Disaster. One terrifying and great setting after another spit out from his mouth. There are more and more brilliant characters in the air, like an epic of time, transcending everything and surpassing everything. Faintly, Gu Yuan can see it. At the very bottom of this mythical space, it seems that there really is an inestimable chaotic abyss, which has opened up from scratch. This is the origin of Gu Yuan's elaborately formulated dark mythology system. Underworld. Chapter 3. The background part of the dark myth has been constructed. Then it's time to get down to business. Go. Gu Yuan murmured softly, with a slight wave of the finger. The three materials in front of him, the rusty iron chain, the ghost skull, and the strange cloak, all buzzed. Like a meteor, it fell towards the abyss below. Hundreds of millions of years ago, a terrifying and strange statue was born in the deep abyss. He is dressed in a dark black robe, holds a chain of ecstasy, and is surrounded by an evil mist. Mortals will never be able to see his true face. He stepped out of the abyss and wandered in the dark places of the heavens and worlds. When you heard about him, he might have appeared by your side. He feeds on the fear of all things, and among them, the strange fear is the most delicious. The existence that is against him will be plundered and brought to the endless abyss to meet the inevitable annihilation. His real name? In other words, the envoy of the deep abyss, evil is impermanent. The voice just fell. Boom. In the mythical space, there was a sudden explosion. Countless chaotic mist collapsed, and patches of space were disillusioned. All the distorted words at the same time burst into a horrifying gloomy light. The mysterious black robe trembled wildly, and countless mysterious runes were born and died on the sleeves of the robe. The ghost skull moved bit by bit and entered the black robe hood. Wisps of mist protruded from the sleeves of the robe, turning into arms, holding the rusty iron chain tightly. 3-star cursed prop rusty chain. 2-star spooky jigsaw puzzle ghost skull. 2-star spooky jigsaw puzzle strange cloak. These three strange materials, which were originally irrelevant, were forcibly kneaded together by an indescribable brilliant power, formed a very paradoxical and grotesque trinity posture. Immediately afterwards, in the empty eye sockets of the ghost skull, suddenly, 2 faint blue flames flickered. The flame didn't have any warmth, but instead surged with a kind of coldness and indifference that made people feel frightened. Somewhere, Gu Yuan had a strong feeling. It's as if there is an invisible thread that connects himself with evil and impermanence. Congratulations, you have successfully fabricated the first dark myth and created a strange creature. Based on the grade of the weird material itself and its fit with the dark mythology, the strength of this weird creature is 3-star top. Envoy of the Underworld, Evil Impermanence. Rating, Samsung top. Introduction, the horror and weirdness from an unknown place. When you see him, it means that you are close to destruction. The bloody screen of the horror game flickered. A smile also appeared on Gu Yuan's face. For this result, he is very satisfied. According to the information he got, horror games also classify the strength of weird creatures from 1 star to 10 stars. Each star is subdivided into elementary, intermediate, advanced, and top. Strange creatures like the top 3 stars can easily destroy a small city. Its level of terror is quite high. In the early days of the horror game, Gu Yuan was able to walk sideways with such a strange creature as evil. And Gu Yuan had a strong feeling. The current level is actually not the limit of evil and impermanence. If you can continue to add suitable weird puzzles and cursed props, then the level of terror of impermanence can be raised again. It can even become a truly indescribable taboo. Next moment, this extremely frightening and terrifying creature slowly raised its head and looked at Gu Yuan. The deep malice surging around him dissipated in an instant. Then the body of his cloak was folded into a weird 90 degrees. It's like the bowing etiquette among humans. This is a gesture of surrender. As a strange creature created by Gu Yuan, he is absolutely obedient to Gu Yuan. This is a kind of absolute suppression from the personality. Hail to the great lord. The impermanent black robe trembled and let out an extremely hoarse and gloomy moan. The bloody screen flickered again. As the creator of the dark myth, you are the source of all terror and anomalies, and you possess supreme power. You can directly get all the power from all the myths and weirdness. Is it now synchronized with the strange power of the dark abyss to make evil impermanent? Gu Yuan was slightly taken aback. Immediately, there was a look of surprise in his eyes. There is such a power? The power of Samsung's top weird creatures. It's really exciting. Gu Yuan took a deep breath and then spoke in a deep voice. Synchronize. An extremely mysterious and strange energy surged in Gu Yuan's body for no reason. It filled his entire body in an instant. Even the soul seems to be infiltrated by this power. Boom. Centered on Gu Yuan. The surrounding chaotic mist was dispelled in an instant, collapsing and flying. Like a sudden gust of wind, it rains pear blossoms. Is this a strange power? Gu Yuan muttered to himself, inexplicably excited. He knew that from this moment on, he was no longer an ordinary person. Instead, it has really entered another brand new realm. That's the real way to go. Moreover, Gu Yuan is clear. This is just the beginning. Not to mention the power of evil and impermanence, there is still huge room for growth. Gu Yuan will create more myths and weirdness in the future. Those strange powers will also be poured into Gu Yuan's body. Fusion and convergence is like the return of thousands of rivers to the sea, like the universe enveloping endless stars. He will be the real terror in this world. Chapter 4. After a while, Gu Yuan suppressed the excitement and ambition in his heart. He bowed his head and waved towards the evil. The evil impermanence flashed. It immediately appeared beside Gu Yuan. Immediately afterwards, the surrounding chaotic mist gradually dissipated. Gu Yuan exits the mythical space and returns to the real world. There are still thousands of lights outside the window, and it looks as peaceful as usual. But Gu Yuan knew, this peace is just an appearance, and it will be completely torn apart in a short time. Boom, 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 boom. A dull knock on the door sounded without warning. The pace is slow at first, but it soon became more and more urgent. It's like the kind of death knell that urges death. The blood pulses and the heartbeat speeds up unconsciously, as if the heart is about to explode with the knock on the door the next moment. Gu Yuan frowned. A playful look flashed across his eyes. He is withdrawn by nature, lonely, and has few friends. Usually no one will come to him, and Gu Yuan turned his head and glanced at the clock on the wall. At this time, it was already 12 midnight. In the middle of the night, the ghost knocks on the door. If it was an ordinary person, they would be scared out of their souls now. But for Gu Yuan, who just made up a dark myth, not only did he not panic at all, there's even a looming, excited. Just take this opportunity to try the power of evil impermanence. What is it like? Without hesitation, he took a step forward. Pull the door open. Standing outside the door was a beautiful woman in a short skirt with long black silk legs. There was a blush on her face, and her eyes were a little blurred. There was a strong smell of alcohol on his body. She looked like the kind of Y dancer who spent the night in a bar. It's just that, amidst the alcohol smell, there seems to be some kind of fishy smell mixed in, which makes people feel a little uncomfortable. Who are you? Gu Yuan didn't change his face and spoke calmly. The woman tilted her head slightly, chuckled, and her eyes became more charming, almost thickening and drawing. Little brother, I drank too much and have no place to go. I want to stay with you for a night. You don't mind, do you? Gu Yuan smiled but wasn't smiling. Of course you don't mind, come in. As he spoke, Gu Yuan turned around leisurely, making a gesture of leading the way. And the moment he turned around, this originally extremely beautiful and charming woman suddenly changed her appearance. The blood on his face completely faded, turning pale like paper money. The eyeballs exploded with a pop, and ferocious blood gushed out like a fountain. The corner of the mouth was split at an extremely exaggerated angle, and a scarlet tongue stuck out like a snake letter, shaking wildly. In conjunction with the constantly flickering dim lights overhead, make this scene look extremely scary and weird. Little brother, You are really a good person. I really don't know how to repay you. Even though the corner of the mouth has shown a strange crack, the voice of the female ghost is still extremely charming and seductive, which makes people itch. He greedily looked at Gu Yuan, like a hungry wolf watching a piece of delicious flesh. It's better. She hasn't finished yet. Gu Yuan casually continued. Why don't you just let me eat you? The female ghost froze. The bloody eye sockets trembled. It was as if he had heard some extremely inconceivable words. Is there a mistake? Obviously, he is that strange creature. Next moment, beside Gu Yuan, in the seemingly empty darkness, suddenly, a black robe floated out. The heavy chain dragged behind him, making a salad sound. The female ghost was instantly terrified. From the body of evil impermanence, he felt a kind of ultimate malice, extreme indifference, extreme cruelty, extreme tyranny. It was as if all the sins of the whole world were gathered on this weird black robe. Gu Yuan turned around calmly, with a gentle smile on his face. At this time, the female ghost still doesn't understand. Gu Yuan is a seemingly ordinary mortal. In fact, it is the real culprit. It's weird. The female ghost didn't think much, just turned around and ran away. Just the blink of an eye. He passed through the walls and appeared in the open space outside the building. For weird creatures, this kind of real building cannot form any barrier at all. But the action of evil impermanence is far faster than him. There was a click. The rusty chain exploded like a poisonous dragon, spanning multiple dimensions in an instant, piercing through the chest of the running female ghost. That body collapsed in an instant, turning into wisps of green smoke that drifted away. Only a scarlet tongue remained in place. The contest between weird creatures is actually a hedge of horror. In the face of such high-level weirdness as evil and impermanence, the cannibal female ghost is as fragile as a blank sheet of paper. It breaks when you touch it. The chain rolled over, entangled the tongue, and brought it back to the evil side. Then Ikang bowed his head slightly and presented the tongue respectfully in front of Gu Yuan. It's like a general is presenting the spoils to the supreme emperor. Ghost tongue. Grade. 1-star weird puzzle. Introduction. Nonsense is not to be heard, and it is not to be trusted. Beware of this tongue. It may trick you into killing yourself. Gu Yuan smiled faintly. I have a little more understanding of the setting of this horror game. All weird jigsaw puzzles will experience an unstoppable weird recovery. Like the man-eating female ghost just now, it is actually the product of the revived ghost tongue. After being brutally suppressed by evil impermanence, he naturally returned to his original form. Chapter 5. Gu Yuan did not hesitate. He waved his hand directly and said to evil impermanence, "This puzzle, you merge it." In myths and legends, a distinctive feature of impermanence is its long tongue. Ghost tongue naturally has a high degree of compatibility with evil impermanence. The integration of this weird puzzle will obviously further enhance the horror of impermanence. The two will-o'-the-wisps in Ziwechang's eye sockets couldn't help flickering. It seems that there is also some fanaticism and excitement. He has long been envious of the weird puzzle piece of ghost tongue. Thank you, my lord, for the gift. Evil impermanence sucked lightly. The ghost tongue immediately flew up and crashed into the skull under the black robe. Immediately afterwards, the ghost tongue slammed into the skull like a violent poisonous snake, making dull bangs. A series of terrifying spiritual fluctuations swept out, causing the glass of the entire residential building to shatter in an instant. This is the instinct of weird puzzles. He will resist integration. But under the supernatural oppression of evil and impermanence, the resistance didn't last long. Soon, the ghost tongue and evil impermanence merged into one. The white skull and the scarlet tongue formed a strange connection, making it even more frightening. Gu Yuan could feel it. The supernatural power of evil and impermanence has quietly increased, although it has not been able to break through the shackles of Samsung's top. But it is only one step away from the 4-star weirdness. This increase also affects Gu Yuan himself. It feels good to become stronger little by little. Gu Yuan felt the changes in his body seriously, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Just at this time, the bloody screen of the horror game resurfaced again. Oh, have you ever seen a real spooky attack? He, this is a horror game. A unique welcome ceremony for every player. Many strange creatures drank human blood and gnawed human flesh tonight. This is their carnival. However, this cannibal female ghost is unlucky because he met you. Compared to the weirdness, you are the scariest existence. Gu Yuan smiled lightly, non-committal. The horror game is right. Going to his door is the biggest mistake of the cannibal female ghost. After experiencing the first real killing, you have opened up the deeper power of the dark mythical authority. You got the original pupil. You are the creator of the dark myth. You are the origin of the evil in the heavens. You are the convergence of infinite time and space and infinite dimensions. Your eyes can see through all illusions, and the most real and essential side of the world will be presented in front of your eyes without reservation. At the same time, in Gu Yuan's eyes, countless bloodshots suddenly spread out, and each thread of blood seems to be composed of countless extremely tiny ancient runes, surging with an extremely primitive and profound strange beauty. Magnificent, magnificent, mystery, great. However, this mutation did not last long. Soon, all the runes and blood streaks disappeared, but only Gu Yuan himself knows. These runes didn't disappear, they just disappeared temporarily. His eyes have undergone a fundamental change. Call. Gu Yuan took a deep breath. Start looking around. The originally brand new house became dilapidated and decayed in the vision of the original pupil. The air is filled with endless black currents, full of indescribable malice, especially around the impermanent evil. This black air current is so thick that it is almost condensing into substance. This black air current should be a strange air, and its intensity is related to the degree of terror? Gu Yuan secretly guessed. After pondering for a while, he took big steps and came to the window. At this time, Fengqing also lost its quiet and peaceful appearance. It presents a ghostly, depressive feeling. Looking around, there was a dead silence, and the strange air was endless, covering all directions. In the gray, broken world, there is no hope in sight. In the distance, in some places, the weirdness is even more intense, even more terrifying than impermanence. Obviously, those are some real murderous places, and they are out-and-out forbidden areas for human beings. Is this the truth of the world? This world has completely changed. It is full of weirdness, and there is no place for peace and happiness. I don't know about other human players. What's the current situation? Gu Yuan frowned slightly, with a thought. The bloody screen of the horror game resurfaced. In the lower right corner of the screen, there is a blinking black skull icon. World channel Gu Yuan clicked open, without hesitation. My God, what is going on? Why is my door covered with tentacles? A man wearing a clown mask is chasing me with a chainsaw. Who will save me? I'm surrounded by gray fog. I can't see anything except this game screen. I don't want to play this horror game. Let me out. Let me out. This place is full of players' fear and wailing. Gu Yuan looked at these chat messages coldly. It seems that all human players have already suffered from the initial strange attack. This is destined to be a night full of blood and killings. At this moment, a post popped up, attracting Gu Yuan's attention. Attention all human players. The Horror Affairs Department of the Dragon Kingdom has established safe zones in various places. Please go there immediately. In the midst of a panic message for help, this post seems very out of the ordinary. Chapter 6. Oh, Department of Horror Affairs? Is this an official institution? Gu Yuan frowned slightly. After pondering for a while, he clicked on this post. Important information, important information, important information. 3 years ago, the internal beta of the horror game started, and the Long Kingdom Horror Affairs Department was formally established. After 3 years of preparation, the Department of Horror Affairs has already possessed considerable weird power, and will do everything possible to ensure the safety of every human player. The following is a list of safe areas and detailed addresses established in various places. Human players, please evacuate as soon as possible. If you are too far away from the safe zone, please hide yourself as much as possible, deal with weird creatures, and wait for dawn. According to previous game experience, after the sun rises, the weird creatures will stop their activities, and the horror game will enter a short period of peace. So that's how it is. Gu Yuan nodded. As early as 3 years ago, horror games have quietly arrived. But at that time, it was only an internal test, and the scale was relatively small. Now is the official opening of the server, sweeping all human beings. And after this period of accumulation, the official power already has a relatively deep foundation. This is also the reason why they established a safe zone to shelter many human players. For many ordinary human players, the existence of the Horror Affairs Department is a beacon of hope in this dark world. However, Gu Yuan has no plans to go to the safe zone. He has enough spiritual power to ensure his own safety. No protection from others is required. I don't want to be restricted by others. And, safe zone, is it really safe? Gu Yuan turned his head and looked out the window. His eyes were focused on those fierce places like dark clouds covering the top. In this world, too many strange creatures have descended. Under the threat of these great terrors, the safe zone may not last long. If you want to survive in this weird world, you still have to rely on yourself. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. For a moment, I couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency rising in my heart. He must seize all the time and grow up as soon as possible. But to grow fast, there is only one way. That is, take the initiative to hunt strange creatures. Get more weird puzzles and cursed props. Use this to strengthen evil and impermanence, and at the same time, create and accumulate materials for the next black myth. Thinking of this, Gu Yuan suddenly turned off the world channel, turned around and looked at the impermanence. Come on, let's go for a walk. Walk out of Golden Bay apartment. The street outside was dark and cold. Faintly, one could smell something like rotting flesh and blood. It's like stepping into the underworld of ghosts. Gu Yuan looked up. The primordial pupil is running quietly. A series of strange bloodshot runes emerged, helping Gu Yuan see the reality of this world. He is looking for the most suitable hunting target. Great choice there. A sneer twitched at the corner of Gu Yuan's mouth. Then he stepped forward and walked into the endless darkness. Backstreet Bar. As usual, here is feasting and feasting, very lively. But at this moment, it looks a little dilapidated and desolate. The light board kept flickering at a strange frequency, as if distorted by some mysterious force. Remnants of limbs and arms can be seen everywhere on the ground. Scarlet blood and gray brains are flowing all over the ground, intertwined together, exuding a threatening smell. More than a dozen figures in suits and leather shoes stumbled and limped, wandering aimlessly among the tragic ruins. It seems to be looking for something. The weirdest thing is that none of these suit figures have heads, only tentacles extending from their necks. And in the corner of the bar, two girls with hot bodies curled up helplessly, trembling constantly, their eyes filled with fear. Cici, what should we do now? Zhang Ling was crying, choked with sobs, and spoke in a very low voice. Cici struggled to squeeze out a smile and hissed. The World Channel said that as long as it lasts until dawn, the weird creatures will stop their activities. At that time, we will go to Fengqing's safe zone, and we will be able to survive. At this moment, Cici's heart was filled with deep regret. If she had known that this kind of thing would happen, she wouldn't have dared to come to this backstreet bar. Half an hour ago, the place was still buzzing with people and carnival. But when the horror game comes, this place has become hell. If it weren't for the two of them awakening a strange power to conceal the breath, they temporarily avoided the strange attack. I'm afraid that the two of them have already turned into pieces of minced meat now. She is now looking forward to the dawn and ending this nightmare. However, at this moment, a shrill voice suddenly sounded. Hee, I found you. Cici and Zhang Ling shuddered and raised their heads stiffly. A figure in a suit looked down at them from above. The head of the tentacle stretched and twisted wantonly, weird and grotesque. Cici screamed, pulled Zhang Ling up and wanted to run away. But it's too late. The other figures in suits also gathered together. There is no escape. It's over. Cici's face was pale, and all thoughts were ashamed. At the same time, a rusty chain suddenly crossed many spaces and came through, bringing up howling winds one after another. This is the evil and impermanent seductive chain. Chapter 7. Ah! The figures in suits turned around one after another. Look at this ecstasy chain. The heads of those tentacles all twisted crazily and let out a shrill scream. The screams overlapped, forming a strange resonance. The terrifying spiritual fluctuations caused countless cracks to appear on the tables, chairs, and walls in the backstreet bar in an instant, rotting and collapsing. The two girls, Cici and Zhang Ling, looked even more distressed. He fell directly to the ground. Black blood is already flowing from the ears. This is because the target of the figure in the suit was not the two of them, otherwise their heads would have been completely blown apart by now. It can be seen that the horror of this group of suit figures is quite extraordinary. However, even such a terrifying spiritual impact, there is no way to stop the ecstasy chain from advancing forward. It was as if those screams were just innocuous music. Puff. Be the first to see a figure in a suit who was pierced through the chest by the chain of ecstasy. Then came the second, the third, within the blink of an eye. A dozen silhouettes in suits were all strung together. Then the chain shook slightly. These silhouettes in suits are all fleshy with their belts turned into infinite fans. Only one after another tentacles fell to the ground, wriggling slowly like maggots. Dead. Zhuo and Zhang Ling were dumbfounded. Some looked at this scene in disbelief. Almost slaughtered hundreds of people in the entire bar, making the two of them terrified in strange suits, and they were instantly wiped out like this? Gudu. Zhuo swallowed hard. Have the courage to follow the chain and look to the end. There was a cloak floating there, with a white skull, a scarlet tongue, and endless malice wrapped around her body. It's extremely weird. And beside the cloak, a tall man stands. It was hazy and he couldn't see clearly. It seemed that there was some kind of strange force distorting Zhuo sight. It seems that in her capacity, she is not worthy to see this man's true face. A vague intuition told Zhuo, this man is far more terrifying than that weird cloak. Gu Yuan's eyes intersected with Zhuo. Zhuo's heart trembled, as if her entire heart was pinched by an invisible big hand in an instant. She quickly lowered her head, not daring to look any further. Gu Yuan's eyes flicked over the two of them without stopping at all, relying on the original pupil. He could easily see through the details of Zhuo and Zhang Ling. These are just two ordinary women. The activated strange power is also very weak. It doesn't deserve too much attention from Gu Yuan. It's not finished yet. Gu Yuan spoke indifferently. His eyes were concentrated on the stage in the center of the bar. There was a shriveled corpse lying on a bloody drum kit. Suddenly, the shriveled corpse, which was so shriveled that only a piece of skin remained, suddenly swelled up and bulged into an irregular ball. Then more tentacles protruded from the eye sockets, from the nose, from the ears, and from the belly button. The sticky liquid dripped from the tentacles and hit the ground, burning small holes one after another. Weird and evil. Just looking at it one more time will make you feel chills all over. That's right. This is the body of the strange creature entrenched in the backstreet bar. Those suits were weird before. They were just his puppets. Samsung Elementary. Such initial weirdness is a nightmare for most players. However, in the face of evil and impermanence, it's not enough to see. Gu Yuan spoke calmly. The evil impermanence behind him also understood his master's thoughts and suddenly rushed forward. The evil spirit and maliciousness around him are even more crazy. The tentacle was weird and obviously irritated. All the tentacles twisted and trembled crazily. Then one after another, they slammed heavily on the drum kit in front of them. Boom, 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 boom. The drums burst into a strange rhythm. It's like a terrifying movement from the abyss of evil. It seems that infinite ghosts are howling and roaring. Evil impermanence is suspended in the air. The two will-o'-the-wisps in the eye sockets danced wantonly. The two jaws suddenly opened, splitting into a strange 180 degrees. That scarlet ghost tongue also straightened in an instant. It's like a sharp sword out of its sheath. Ban! A hoarse roar sounded. As the envoy of the underworld, he is a messenger of ghosts in the underworld. Evil impermanence is born with extremely terrifying and strange powers. What's more, he is a top-level strange creature of 3 stars, and he is much stronger than this tentacle in terms of level. This is a crush. In just an instant, the originally gloomy and hoarse drum music was instantly suppressed. Everything is silent. Although the tentacles were weird, they were still frantically shaking the tentacles, desperately hitting the drum set in front of them. The drum set was also shaking constantly, but unfortunately, there was no sound at all. This scene is extremely paradoxical. Immediately afterwards, those extended tentacles changed strangely. From what at the beginning, it became extremely dry. Then it breaks inch by inch. This evil tentacle was weird and turned into pieces all over the place. Chapter 8. Zhuo and Zhang Ling looked at each other. In the eyes of the two people, there is that incomparable shock. Horrible. Although this confrontation was only for a short moment, but the psychological impact it brought to them was earth-shattering, beyond words. This is the first time they feel it intuitively. How terrifying are high-level weird creatures. For a while, in the hearts of both of them, for Gu Yuan, there is a deep awe. This boss is several times more terrifying than they had imagined before. Gu Yuan didn't even look at the two of them. Stepped directly to the stage. The one killed this time was a 3-star monster. The legacy left behind should also be a high-level weird puzzle, right? There are shriveled tentacles all over the place. But Gu Yuan saw what he wanted at a glance. It was a black tentacle. It was only about 10 centimeters long, with a smooth surface and a strange luster. False tentacles. Grade. 3-star weird puzzle. Introduction. This is an imitation of 1/1000th of his limbs, only his shape, but not his god. But even if it's just a fake, when you pick it up, there's a connection to it. Be careful, he may have his eyes on you. Gu Yuan frowned. From the introduction given by the horror game, he felt a chill. Just imitations. And it only imitated that 1/1000th limb. Already have a 3-star level. Unimaginable. What a terrifying and frightening power the true body of that existence will have. A true nameless being. Contact with the imitation will create a connection with him. Be peeped from him. Gu Yuan hesitated for a moment, still leaned over and picked up the tentacle. His ambition is not limited to this small fengqing. Instead, focus on the entire horror world, the entire infinite universe. One day, he will face those evil gods who are aloof. This connection and peeping is inevitable. No need to look around. Let's merge. Gu Yuan gently raised his hand and threw it directly into the hands of evil. Thank you, my lord, for the gift. Evil impermanence bowed stiffly, and then began to devour and fuse this false tentacle. Soon, he becomes fully one with this false tentacle. Dozens of tentacles extended from the bottom of the cloak, dragging gently on the ground, as if they were human feet. It looks more and more mysterious and evil. And under the effect of this 3-star weird puzzle, the level of horror of impermanence itself has also achieved a new breakthrough. He has successfully stepped into a new realm. 4-star junior. Gu Yuan's aura also climbed up along with it. The strange air surged unceasingly, forming a continuous piece, wrapping around the two of them, almost filling the entire backstreet bar. Zhou Cixi and Zhang Ling's expression changed for a while, and they were a little out of breath, although they are both weak. But they can also totally see it. This mysterious boss has become even more terrifying than before. Very good. Gu Yuan nodded in satisfaction. At the same time, in front of him, the bloody screen of the horror game jumped up. After devouring the new weird puzzles, the myths and weirdness you created ushered in a jump in horror. This further exploration of the strange power allows you to comprehend the deeper power of the dark myth of supreme power. You have obtained the pattern of nothingness. The infinite universe praises you. The infinite time and space worships you. The infinite dimension worships you. You are all the worlds, and all the worlds are you. Unless you face you directly, no existence, no means, can spy on you. There was a chill in the palm of my hand. Gu Yuan raised his hand. On the palm, there is a strange circle. That's right. Round. It's not complicated at all. It's as simple as it gets. It seems ordinary, but it seems to cover everything. If you look at it more, you will feel that your soul seems to be swallowed by this circle. This is the streak of nothingness. Cut off all connections, cut off all prying eyes. Gu Yuan could feel some kind of connection established in the dark because of touching the false tentacles before. At this moment, disappeared quietly. Interesting. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. Originally, he still had some taboos about those high-ranking evil gods. But now that he has the pattern of nothingness, he doesn't have any worries at all. Even if it is an indescribable person, there is no trace of Gu Yuan. And below, Zhou Cixi and Zhang Ling stared blankly at Gu Yuan, and the awe in their eyes became even stronger. They only felt that there was an extremely illusory and mysterious aura in Gu Yuan's body out of thin air. Like smoke and fog, unpredictable and incomprehensible. It's empty here. There's no weirdness left to hunt. Let's go. Gu Yuan ordered casually. Go out with evil impermanence. Zhou Cixi looked at Gu Yuan's back, gritted his teeth, and mustered up the courage to speak. Thank you for saving me. Can you tell me your name? In the future, I will definitely find a way to repay you. Gu Yuan's face was expressionless, but his footsteps still moved forward at the original rhythm. It was as if he hadn't heard Zhou Cixi's words at all. But evil impermanence turned around abruptly. Those eye sockets with blue will-o'-the-wisps stared deeply at Zhou Cixi. Zhou Cixi was shocked. I was stupefied with fright. The blood in the body seems to be frozen at this moment. Zhang Ling beside her was also covered in countless hairs standing on her head, until Gu Yuan's figure completely disappeared. Only then did Zhou Cixi relax. His legs went limp and he collapsed to the ground. The clothes on his body were already completely soaked in cold sweat. In front of her, the bloody screen of the horror game flashed. You are lucky you met his arrival during the strange attack. But you are stupid again. How dare you? What qualifications do you have to ask his real name? Fortunately, he is not interested in you. Otherwise, the current you is already a shattered mist. Chapter 9. Outside the backstreet bar. Standing on the dark road, Shi Wuchang suddenly stopped and stopped. The faint blue will-o'-the-wisps in the eye sockets danced crazily and non-stop. Huh? What's the matter? Gu Yuan frowned and turned his head. The impermanent black robe stirred up. A hoarse whisper emerged from the skull. My lord, the Real tentacles, west, are not far away. Although this sentence is intermittent, low and hoarse. But because of that mysterious connection, Gu Yuan can easily understand the meaning of impermanence. He was talking about the real tentacle, not an imitation fake. Instead, it really came from the body fragments of the unspeakable person. After merging with the false tentacles, there is also some kind of subtle induction between evil impermanence and the real tentacle. This made Gu Yuan a little excited. The real tentacle came from a certain terrifying existence, and its grade must be quite high. If it can be used as material to create a new dark myth, it must be able to create a mythical weirdness that is much more powerful than evil. West of Fengqing, Gu Yuan turned his head and looked into the distance. According to the induction of evil impermanence, looking for the target location. Soon, his eyes stopped at one position. The strange aura there is extremely rich and vast, like a high mountain of clouds, suppressing everything. Obviously, there is also a place of great evil, and the level of danger, extremely high. Strangers are not close. If I remember correctly, there should be Qingfeng Wan. The real tentacles are in Qingfeng Temple? Gu Yuan secretly calculated. Qingfeng Temple is a Taoist temple with a history of 100 years in Fengqing. Before the incense was at its peak, it was regarded as a Taoist holy place, bearing the blessings of countless good men and women. Now, with the erosion of horror games, it is transformed into a paradise for weird creatures. It's ironic when you think about it. The horror there is too high. I can't handle it yet. Going now is going to die. This matter can't be rushed. It's more appropriate to explore in the past when the strength is improved. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. One day, he will step into the gate of King Fengwen, sweep away all the weirdness, and take the real tentacle into his pocket. Sudden, a sound of hurried footsteps interrupted Gu Yuan's contemplation. At the corner of the street, a man looked flustered, scrambling and running away in an extremely embarrassing manner. And behind him, on the other hand, there is an extremely majestic figure more than 3 meters high, chasing after him. Exactly. This is not a silhouette. Rather, a mountain of meat made up of thousands of stumps and broken arms. An eyeball the size of a fist is on the top of the Roshan, spinning continuously. Every leap of his will bring about an extremely dull echo. Let the whole street shake and tremble endlessly. A new prey is coming. A sneer twitched at the corner of Gu Yuan's mouth. Can't clean up King Fengwen. Clean up these low-level weirdness? Isn't it easy? There is no need for him to order more. Evil impermanence has floated up. He gave a dark smile. The ecstasy chain in his hand trembled and swelled in the wind, like a poisonous dragon rushing out of the deep sea. The chain twisted, wrapping the entire meat mountain strangely. This huge and terrifying mountain of meat is like a chained dog, unable to move. All he could do was let out bursts of impotent and furious roars on the spot. The black robe of evil impermanence trembled, and a strange aura radiated out. On the hooked chains, hideous tentacles suddenly grew out of thin air. The tentacles easily broke through Roshan's weird defenses and pierced fiercely into his flesh and blood. Start devouring madly. The originally majestic Roshan withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. It quickly turned into a sticky mess. He is whole. Soaked up. The man who was chased by Roshan strangely stood there in a daze, dumbfounded. His name is Qin Hai. Others are stupid. This terrifying and evil scene brought him too much psychological impact and spiritual shock. If you don't see it with your own eyes, then he would never have dreamed of it. In his eyes, the invincible and terrifying Roshan would die so easily. It's like an ant being trampled to death mercilessly. Gu Yuan walked slowly forward. Qin Hai's scalp felt numb immediately, and his whole body became stiff. Standing in place like a sculpture, his legs couldn't move at all. Facing Roshan's strangeness, he can still escape. But facing Gu Yuan, he couldn't even think of resisting or running away. Don't dare to move. In just an instant, he had already thought of thousands of ways to die for himself in his mind. But his worries are obviously unnecessary. Gu Yuan has no interest in him at all. Straight past him, picked up the strange remaining skin of Roshan. 2-star weird puzzle, soft skin. Go, find the next one. Gu Yuan greeted the evil impermanence. One by one, they disappeared into the darkness. After a long time, Qin Hai swallowed with difficulty. What did he just hear? Next? While he was still avoiding the strange pursuit, this boss has already started actively looking for strange hunting? Suddenly, Qin Hai sympathized with the strange creatures around him. After finally coming to reality, it's not fun enough, and I'm going to be directly overtaken by this boss. Chapter 10 False Peace. The black sun covering the world. The brutal hunting lasted the whole night. It didn't stop until the sky brightened. With Yuan apartment as the center, it radiates outward within a range of 10 kilometers. Chainsaw murderer, cat-faced old lady, gap girl, misty ghost hand, all the strange creatures wandering outside died under the chains of evil and impermanence. Corresponding, Gu Yuan also harvested a lot of weird puzzles. However, most of the weird puzzles are not high-level, only 1 or 2 stars. There are only 2 weird jigsaw puzzles that can barely pass Gu Yuan's eyes. The Broken Bone Seal. Grade. 3-star weird puzzle. Introduction. It is incomplete. It seems to be a relic from a certain palace. Listen, that is the wail of an emperor. That is the annihilation of a country. Ghost Coercion. Grade. 3-star weird puzzle. Introduction. He is invisible and qualityless, but you know that he exists. Remember, you must suppress your instincts, and you must not choose to escape, otherwise you will be crushed into a pulp by coercion. Seal of Bones and Ghost Coercion are not suitable for impermanence. Gu Yuan intends to keep it as material for the next Dark Myth fabrication. As for other weird puzzles, Gu Yuan didn't keep any of them, and all of them were fed to Shi Wuchang. Nourished by these weird puzzles, evil and impermanence has also successfully gone one step further, reaching the level of horror of the 4-star intermediate level. As the night fades away, the bloody screen of the horror game once again appeared in front of Gu Yuan. Hee, the night is over and dawn is coming. Human players who saw this world announcement, congratulations, you have successfully survived a nightmare night. You are lucky and have the qualifications to live in this brand new weird world. But you are unfortunate, because you will continue to feel fear every night. It is inevitable. Friendly reminder, it is safe for the time being during the day, except for some extremely dangerous places, the strange creatures will temporarily retreat. The second friendly reminder, peace is not real peace. Are you mentally prepared to get in touch with the reality of the world? The hours of the day receded strangely, so I just took this opportunity to take a good rest. But, this tip for a thriller game. Gu Yuan frowned. From these simple lines of text, he smelled something unusual. Is it safe for the time being during the day? What does it mean? Could it be that with the further development of horror games, the daytime will be like the night, with ghosts walking around at night? There is a second tip. Peace is not real peace. This sentence seems to have a deep meaning. After thinking for a moment, Gu Yuan still has no clue. Simply stop thinking about it. When the strength is stronger, he will naturally be able to get in touch with the truth of the world at a deeper level. He turned off the bloody screen casually and looked up into the sky. Immediately, he couldn't help but feel shocked. There was a dignified look in his eyes. I thought that there would be no difference between this day and the countless days I experienced before. But it is not the truth. The erosion of the real world by horror games has penetrated into every aspect. At this moment, hanging high in the sky, shining all over the earth, it's a dark sun. Rifts of black sunlight poured down, covering everything in the world with a layer of black tulle, filled with a mysterious and evil beauty. Illuminated by this kind of black sunlight, I can't feel any warmth at all. There is only a chill that penetrates into the soul. It's creepy. Gu Yuan frowned. Quietly run the original pupil. The ferocious and mysterious rune bloodshot instantly covered the entire eyeball. The black sun in the sky immediately changed its appearance. It is no longer a regular circle, but irregular polyhedron. The whole body is burning with dark, mysterious flames, and it was still beating in a very special rhythm. It's like a heart, and it's the kind of living heart. Almost immediately, Gu Yuan reacted. This black sun is also a weird puzzle. As for its grade, it cannot be estimated at all. Hanging the sky, illuminating the whole world. It's hard to imagine what kind of power this is. What kind of majestic and terrifying existence would the body that the heart originally belonged to be? That kind of power, Yuan can't imagine at all. At least, for now, it is simply unattainable. What kind of existence does this weird puzzle piece have now? Is it an instinct for him to shine on the world, or is it the handwriting of an indescribable person? If it is a conscious manipulation, what is the purpose of the person behind it? What kind of roles are we human players in his eyes? Yuan muttered to himself in a low voice. The real observation of the world solved some of his doubts, but it brought him more troubles. This moment, Yuan has a deeper understanding of the cues of the thriller game. Peace is not real peace. Under the hypocritical appearance, there is a more terrifying mystery buried. What he has explored now is just the tip of the iceberg. The water in this horror game is 10,000 times deeper than I expected. Yuan couldn't help sighing. He shook his head. Put those chaotic thoughts to rest. Turn around and go upstairs to go home. Chapter 11. At the same time, Fengcheng Lake Square. This is the Department of Horror Affairs, the safety zone designated in Dragon City. Hundreds of survivors, disheartened, gathered in twos and threes to discuss the horror of the night. Everyone's face has that unconcealable feeling of lingering fear. Given a choice, no one wants to feel the kind of fear that seeps into the bone marrow. Heights. Several figures stood upright. They are both members of the Horror Division, responsible for maintaining the operation of Fengcheng Safety Zone. It is different from the flustered ordinary players. They are all internal beta players who have entered the horror game a long time ago, already adapted to this ubiquitous weird atmosphere. Everyone has mastered different weird puzzles and possessed different cursed props. He is a real trickster. In this terrifying world, ordinary human beings can only hope to survive if they complete the transformation into a treacherous master. How's the statistics going? A tall and glamorous woman in a tight leather jacket with a black broken knife on her back stared down. In the eyes, there was a faint worry. Her name is Xia Qingzhu, a 2-star peak trickster. He is the most powerful member of the Horror Affairs Division within Fengcheng. Take full responsibility for all affairs here. Hearing Xia Qingzhu's question, a trick master immediately took a step forward. Sister Qingzhu, the situation is very serious. We have a ghost compass, which can sense the place of great ominousness. During the closed beta, there were originally only 3 places in Fengcheng, which ranked last in the country and belonged to a relatively safe area. But after the horror game officially came last night, the number of places of great evil has suddenly increased to 18, even surpassing the imperial capital and becoming the most dangerous place in the country. This kind of sudden explosion and surge in a place of great evil has not happened in other places. Only our Fengcheng has appeared. It feels like... The treacherous master frowned, hesitant to speak. Xia Qingzhu's face was ugly, and she asked without hesitation. Like what? The trickster smirked bitterly. It's as if an evil god was born in Fengcheng. Horror games are twisted for it, and those terrible places are born for it. Heard the words. Xia Qingzhu, who was always calm, couldn't help shivering. In a pair of beautiful eyes, there is a look of shock that cannot be concealed. Is it possible? Because of the appearance of a certain mysterious existence, it led to the appearance of a large number of murderous places? If all this is true, so, how noble should the mysterious existence that caused the great changes in the horror game have? After a long time, Xia Qingzhu calmed down. She took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I see. I will report this matter to the headquarters. The headquarters will definitely give the best solution. All the tricksters nodded. This kind of thing can only rely on the headquarters. I hope that the background accumulated at the headquarters can cope with the unprecedented changes in 10,000 years. By the way, Sister Qingzhu, there is one more question. The other master of tricks hesitated a bit. He raised his hand, pointed at the survivors below, and said in a low voice, Do you think that there are too many survivors in Fengcheng? Xia Qingzhu frowned. There was a stern look in his eyes. It really is. She always felt that something was wrong, but has been elusive. At this moment, she was reminded by her subordinates that she realized the problem. Under the advent of horror games, there are special tricksters at the headquarters who have made a rough prediction of the situation in various places. Theoretically, The vast majority of human players would die under the strange attack on the first night. Only a small number of lucky ones can escape by chance and reach the safe zone smoothly. According to the forecast, 700 to 800 survivors who can reach Fengqing's safe zone on the first day would be good. But now, there are about 2,000 people. It was as if Fengqing was extremely safe. This is outrageous. On one side is the surge in the number of big murderous places. On the other side are survivors who are well above normal. These two extremely contradictory elements appeared in Fengqing at the same time, which seemed extremely strange, unreasonable to the extreme. Xia Qingzhu frowned. He pondered for a while. She made a decision. Last night, something unusual must have happened in Fengqing. You immediately visit these survivors and ask them what they have experienced. You mean someone saved you? Xia Qingzhu's eyes were sharp. He looked directly at the two girls in front of him. Zhuo nodded. There was a complicated look in his eyes. It seems that simple memories will evoke a deep-seated fear. The black-robed ghost next to that person instantly killed the weirdness in the bar. He didn't make a shot himself, but I had a very strong hunch. That person is a truly terrifying existence, and the black robe is just a vassal of him. Zhang Ling also nodded, her voice hoarse. That's right, that person has a very special temperament. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a high-ranking god, stepped down from the altar and came to reality. I don't even dare to look at him. Xia Qingzhu frowned even tighter. She said suspiciously, "Are you sure? That's a human, not a weird creature?" Zhuo nodded firmly. "I'm sure that the hint given by the horror game at that time was him, not him." Xia Qingzhu narrowed her eyes slightly. "Well, you two recall the appearance of that person, and we will further investigate his identity." Zhuo was taken aback for a moment and began to think seriously. But just for a moment, her expression became a little painful. Start shaking your head wildly. Can't remember at all. I can only remember a vague outline. Zhang Ling's reaction was the same. His face was hideous and distorted. The harder she tried to think, the heavier the haze in her mind became. It was as if there were countless fogs covering Gu Yuan's face, isolating her memory, and making it impossible for her to spy. Xia Qingzhu was stunned. She stared blankly at the second daughter. With her strength, it can be seen naturally. Zhuo and Zhang Ling are definitely not playing tricks. They really can't remember. For a while, Xia Qingzhu felt cold all over his body. It's like being poured with a basin of ice water in winter. A sense of horror rose from the soles of the feet, along the spine, and went straight to the sky. There was a terrifying word that suddenly appeared in her mind. No name for. The performance of Zhuo and Zhang Ling is simply the perfect interpretation of these four characters. Xia Qingzhu couldn't even dream of it. This supremely weird vocabulary is actually associated with a human being? Chapter 12. Sister Qingzhu. The results of the investigation are basically out. A treacherous master reported the situation to Xia Qingzhu with a respectful expression. More than half of the surviving players are from the same area, which is 10 kilometers around Yuan apartment. Moreover, their experiences last night were surprisingly similar. There is a mysterious person wearing a black robe and sweeping away the strange creatures that hunted them down, allowing them to live. In addition, they all said that they couldn't recall the appearance of that mysterious person at all, and there was only a vague outline in their minds. It seems that there is an invisible big hand, erasing all their related memories. Xia Qingzhu nodded. His face was extremely serious. A person's memory is fuzzy. It can also be said to be a coincidence. And so many people all have fuzzy memories. Then it can only be the handwriting of that mysterious person. Being able to distort the memories of so many people, the power of this mysterious existence has far exceeded her cognition. What is his identity? Only kill strange, but not harm humans. Is he our friend? Is he trustworthy? And that black robe is weird. What does it have to do with him? Is it really the master and the vassal? Why does he have the ability to control the strange? Countless questions emerged in Xia Qingzhu's mind. Make her frown. After a while, she stood up. He walked quickly to the map of Fengqing hanging on the side. Golden Bay apartment? She quickly found the target and drew a circle with a red pin. Stared at the map for a while. Xia Qingzhu suddenly trembled. There was a bit of horror in his eyes. Wait, this location? She quickly picked up her pen and quickly circled the locations of other murderous places. The Golden Bay apartment itself is not a place of great danger. But if you zoom into the entire map of Fengqing, then you will find a very paradoxical scene. All the fierce places form a faint circle. It happens to surround Jinyuan apartments. It's like the subjects are worshipping the emperor, and the stars are holding the moon. It's like a pack of wolves watching for their prey, ready to move, murderous, weird to the extreme. It makes people feel like they are facing the abyss. Perhaps the previous guess was correct. The surge in the number of places of great evil is not a coincidence, but a chain reaction triggered by certain factors. There are many secrets hidden in that mysterious man. This is related to the safety of Fengqing and even the entire Dragon Kingdom. We must find a way to figure it out. Even if you risk death, you must go. This is the duty of a soldier. Xia Qingzhu muttered to himself. A look of determination flashed across the beautiful eyes. Immediately afterwards, she raised her head and looked at her subordinates. Deshan, Afeng, Yindong, you guys, get ready. Tonight, we're going here to investigate. The black sun slowly fell. The world is once again taken over by darkness. The sleepy one wakes up strangely, wandering in the broken world. Dear human players, are you happy, excited, looking forward to it? A joyous killing night is about to begin again. Should I hide in the nest that I think is safe and trembling, or go into the darkness and take the initiative to spy on the truth of the world? Attention, starting tonight, the game will add a mission mechanism. Human players who explore the world will randomly trigger missions, complete the missions, and will get certain rewards. But don't forget, when you spy on the truth may also spy on you. On the bloody screen, distorted handwriting flickered nonstop. Gu Yuan frowned slightly. A faint joy flashed in his eyes. Players who explore the world may randomly trigger missions, and there will be corresponding rewards for completing missions. For him, this is undoubtedly good news. He was about to set off on his own, to hunt weird outside. If you can complete a few tasks, by the way, and get rewards, you can undoubtedly grow up at a faster speed. Gu Yuan walked out of the room. The black sun has disappeared. What hangs in the sky at this moment is a scarlet full moon. The other stars are also all blood red. The whole sky was tainted with rich blood, filled with endless, like a sea of blood. It was as if countless gods had fought and fell to the ground, staining the vast sky with blood. Gu Yuan was not surprised by this. He has long been mentally prepared. According to the nature of horror games, there is nothing normal in this world for a long time. The black sun during the day, in essence, is a strange heart. The blood-colored moon and blood-colored stars are probably not as simple as they appear on the surface. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. Use the original pupil again. The red moon in the sky immediately turned into an incomparably huge eyeball. Strange streaks of blood covered the surface of the eyeballs, like thousands of poisonous insects clinging to them, strange and inexplicable. And the other stars are the same. All are big and small, bright and dark eyeballs. These tens of thousands of eyeballs are densely packed and form a continuous piece, filling the entire night sky. It seems that there are countless evil gods who are greedily watching this world through these eyeballs as a medium. Thanks to Gu Yuan, after taking control of the power of the dark myth, the psychological tolerance for weirdness has been greatly improved. If it was someone else, they would have seen this weird scene with their own eyes. I'm afraid that the sand value will be reset to 0 in an instant, and the whole person will be frightened into insanity. Suddenly, as if feeling something, these eyeballs are all turning at the same time. Blood-streaked, pupils widened. The strange eyes pierced through the long river of time. All of them looked at where Gu Yuan was. Gu Yuan couldn't help feeling terrified. The palm of the right hand felt hot for a while, and the pattern of nothingness quietly lit up, flowing with a mysterious luster. A strange power cut off the retrospective that spanned infinite time and space. Gu Yuan could see it. In those eyeballs all over the sky, there seems to be a bit of human blankness flickering. They looked around suspiciously, and then fell silent. Gu Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. Those aloof and unspeakable beings are truly terrifying. Just a small gaze will make him feel something. When peeping at the truth is also peeping at you. This statement is true. Fortunately, there is the tattoo of nothingness. Even the gaze of the supreme evil god cannot penetrate nothingness. Oh, you are really daring. Do you know what kind of terrifying existence you were watching just now? Perhaps you in the future can look down on him. But now you are too weak. Not as good as 1/1000th of him. However, your gaze this time has opened up a path that you have never imagined. You triggered a hidden mission. Chapter 13. Guided by the red moon, the paper figurine carries the coffin. See the twisted prompt on the bloody screen. Yuan was slightly taken aback. Immediately, I couldn't help but get a little excited. Who would have thought that his inadvertent gaze would trigger a special hidden mission? Judging from the harshness of the trigger conditions, after completing this hidden mission, the rewards you can get must be extremely amazing. Hidden mission, Red Moon's guidance. Mission description. As the first to watch? People, you got some sort of mystical revelation. Do you feel that somewhere in Fengqing, there seems to be? Breath remains. You decide to go check it out. Phase 1 mission requirements. Arrive at the Drum Tower Theater before 2000 hours tonight. Mission success reward. Depends on the completion of the mission. Punishment for mission failure. Trust me, you won't want to know. Is it still a chain mission? Yuan raised his eyebrows. A playful look flashed in his eyes. He knows the Drum Tower Theater. This is the Palace of Drama in Fengqing, and every once in a while, there will be drama performances. From time to time, there will be the kind of actors who are famous all over the country to come to perform on stage. And the Drum Tower Theater is also one of the most dangerous places that Yuan observed before. But how dangerous it is. Compared with Qingfeng Temple, it is far worse. You can go and have a look. As long as this series of tasks can be completed, the rewards he got would definitely bring Yuan's supernatural power to another level. The mission stipulates that you must arrive before 8 o'clock. It's 7:30 now. The Drum Tower Theater is quite far from here, and it's not realistic to go there on legs. It looks like I have to think of other ways. Yuan muttered to himself. He turned his head and looked around the street. Suddenly, a mournful swona sounded. Yuan turned his head and followed the voice. Over there is a pure black pagoda tree coffin, engraved with countless strange runes, which looks gloomy, and under the coffin, front, back, left, right, center. In each of the 5 directions, there stood a paper man made of yellow paper, supporting the coffin. This reminded Yuan of an ancient term. The 5 ghosts carry the coffin. Boom, boom, boom. The 5 paper figurines were strange, carrying the coffin, jumping rhythmically, and coming forward. Every time they jump, they will blow the swona in their hands. It seems to be reminding the surrounding creatures to avoid it. It seems that their movements are very clumsy and ridiculous. But in fact, they move very fast. In the last second, it was still 100 meters away. In the next second, he appeared next to Yuan. A sneer twitched at the corner of Yuan's mouth. I was worried that I didn't have a suitable means of transportation, so I rushed to the Drum Tower Theater. Isn't this just delivered to your door? He gently raised his hand. Make a blocking gesture. The 5 paper figurines were weird and stopped immediately. They turned their heads in unison. Those empty and cold eyes stared at Yuan coldly. Human, what do you want to do? The 5 paper figurines spoke at the same time strangely. The voice was hoarse and shrill, like howling before death, filled with infinite coldness. Yuan spoke calmly. It doesn't mean anything else. I just fell in love with this coffin and want to go in and lie down. The 5 paper figurines looked at each other strangely. In the indifferent eyes, there is a somewhat humanized look of surprise. They are weird. This is a coffin. Ordinary human beings, when they see them, don't they always avoid them? This is the first time they have heard of such a crazy request from Yuan. I'm afraid you won't be able to lie down. The paper figurine in the middle was weird and let out a hoarse low cry. Next moment, these paper figurines are weird and spread out in all directions with a tacit understanding. The pitch-black pagoda tree coffin hit the ground with a bang, making a dull echo like the sound of a drum. Without hesitation, Yuan took a step forward calmly. Raise your hand directly and lift the coffin lid. Inside the coffin, there is no body. There is only a worn-out cloak, with a few strands of gold thread still vaguely visible. Obviously, it was once very luxurious. It's a 3-star spooky puzzle. Ghost sacrificial robe. Not yet fully recovered. Yuan raised his hand, wanting to pull out the ghost priest robe, and the moment his fingers touched the cloak suddenly let out a shrill scream. The terrifying cold aura, like a gust of wind and rain, billowed out. Then it suddenly swelled up, as if it wanted to swallow Yuan's entire package. Yuan's face remained unchanged. It's just a 3-star weird puzzle. Not to mention that he hasn't fully recovered yet. He just killed people by instinct. Even if it really recovers. In front of Gu Yuan, it is also a small thing that can be crushed to death directly. Evil impermanence emerged quietly behind him. The ecstasy chain was thrown out suddenly, slapped hard on the cloak. Snapped. The cloak shook violently. Blood-stained cotton wool fluttered out and flew randomly in the air. All the cold aura that was exuding was abruptly dissipated. The impermanence of evil did not stop there. The ecstasy chain turned quickly, pulled hard again, one after another. Let's be more ruthless. It's like the master is teaching a disobedient slave, cruel and tyrannical. The strange aura on the cloak became weaker and weaker. What came out was no longer that violent scream. It was a burst of tragic mourning. The 5 paper figurines stood aside strangely, watching this scene in shock, terrified, dumbfounded. They have only seen weird killing of human beings. But I have never seen human beings so cruel and weird. Every time the ecstasy chain whips the cloak, they will also shake violently. Empathy. The pain is terrible. Soon, the strange will that was revived in this cloak was completely dissipated by the evil impermanence, and it fell into complete silence, and there was no more movement. He fell limply to the ground, like an ordinary rag. Gu Yuan bowed his head indifferently. Put away this ghost cloak. Then he looked at those paper figurines with scrutiny. Can I lie in now? The paper figurines bowed their heads in unison. No one dared to take Gu Yuan's words. Although Gu Yuan is human, but at this moment, in their eyes. But it is 10 times more terrifying than many weird ones. Chapter 14. Gu Yuan chuckled lightly. Sit directly into the coffin. As for the impermanence of evil, he put it into his own mythological space. The weird paper figurines stared blankly at Gu Yuan's actions. I dare not say a single extra word. Gu Yuan took out his phone, glanced at the time, and spoke slowly. 20 minutes. Before 8 o'clock, I hope to be at the Drum Tower Theater. If you can't go... He didn't finish his sentence. These 5 paper figurines were so weird that they were already scrambling to speak. Can go. Can go. There were sharp and hoarse voices one after another. I'm afraid to speak slowly. Will be brutally punished by Gu Yuan. I can still vividly see the scene of bewitching ghosts' sacrificial robes with chains and chains. They don't want to experience that pain for themselves. That's good. Please. By the way, close the coffin for me. Gu Yuan gave a command with a smile. Then he lay down leisurely. The 5 paper figurines looked at each other strangely, hurriedly closed the coffin lid, lifted the coffin hastily, and quickly jumped towards the Drum Tower Theater. They never imagined. As a weird person, there will be a day when I will be squeezed by humans. In the coffin, Gu Yuan fell into deep thought. There is a paper man carrying the coffin. I will definitely not be late. There is no problem with the first stage of the task, but the follow-up tasks still need careful consideration. After all, the Drum Tower Theater is one of the most dangerous places. There must be many dangers inside. It may be very difficult to deal with it just relying on evil and impermanence. Before entering the theater, I must try my best to improve my strength to the highest level. After a short pause, Gu Yuan made a decision. He is going to fabricate a dark myth for the second time. With a thought, Gu Yuan came to the mythical space. The surroundings are still surrounded by endless chaotic mist, as if the world has just opened, and everything has not yet originated. Gu Yuan is suspended at the core of the mythical space. Every move has the resonance of countless chaotic mist, just like the creation gods, magnificent and sacred, indescribable. The 3 pieces of materials that had been prepared flickered in front of Gu Yuan, strangely and coldly. Broken bone seal, ghost coercion, and the latest ghost sacrificial robe. These 3 pieces of material are all real 3-star weird puzzles. In terms of the quality of the material, it is more advanced and high quality than when creating evil and impermanence before. As for making up dark myths, as early as the time when he got the broken white bone seal, Gu Yuan already had an idea. Seal, symbol of power. Bones, representation of the underworld. Combine the 2 and that's... Hell. He coughed lightly and spoke loudly. The mouth contains the constitution of heaven, and the golden mouth speaks jade. Every word spoken, under the blessing of the mythical space, will exaggerate endless mighty power and evolve into some kind of weird engraving. The sins of the heavens and the world gather in the abyss. All sins will come to an end, and all sins will be liquidated. So, he appeared, born from the collision of the sins of the heavens and the original power of the underworld. He holds a seal carved from white bones, sits on a throne made of flesh and blood, and is in charge of the ancient punishment of the abyss. With one thought, the forest will form an array, and all crimes will be wiped out. One word, the sun and the moon turn the wheel, and the crowd trembles. Those weirdnesses that are attracted by evil and impermanence, what they will meet is the judgment of sin from him. In reincarnation, chant his real name, and he can rest in peace. He is the last judge, Nie Yan Luo. To hear. The second dark myth is officially fabricated. The void vibrates, and chaos hums. The broken bone seal, ghost coercion, and ghost sacrificial robe, these three strange materials, all began to vibrate at a high speed with a strange and weird frequency. It was as if calling, praising, and singing some ancient unknown movement. Countless chaotic mist, like a needle thread, interspersed billions of times between the three of them in an instant. Let the three of them fully integrate into one. Gradually, a new strange creature has appeared. He has 5 eyes, all scarlet like pools of blood. Every gaze is filled with an absolute indifference, which seems to be able to penetrate past and present lives, seeing through all the filth hidden under the skin. The seal of the white bone was suspended in front of him, and the ghost's sacrificial robe was draped over his body, and a frightening cold coercion surged around him. Congratulations, you have successfully fabricated the second dark myth and created a strange creature. Based on the grade of the weird material itself and its fit with the dark myth, the strength of this weird creature is 4-star top. The last judge, Evil Yama. Rating, 4-star top. Introduction. The monster in charge of the mysterious power. Look, there are countless threads of strange fate tightly held in his hands. The same as the previous evil impermanence. When looking at Yuan, Nie Yan Luo withdrew all his majesty and indifference and bowed down respectfully. In his indifferent 5 eyes, there is infinite fanaticism and devotion. May the great my lord live forever and be immortal. Yuan smiled and nodded. He is very satisfied with the results of this myth creation. The newly born Nie Yan Luo has directly reached the level of 4-star top level of terror, 4-star mid-level evil impermanence, plus 4-star top-level Nie Yan Luo. Yuan's whole cards are already very strong. Even though the Drum Tower Theater is a very dangerous place, then he also has the confidence to deal with it. Not to mention, this is not his limit. Yuan looked up. A bloody screen flashed in front of him. Twisted hint characters are displayed on it. As the creator of the dark myth, you can synchronize all the power of Nie Yan Luo. Do you want to synchronize now? Come on. All kinds of weirdness, add to me. Yuan spoke calmly. Chapter 15. Following Yuan's order, surging power surged from an unknown area, pouring all of it into his body, his skin, his bones, his heart, his blood, all under the influence of this mysterious force. There has been a silent alienation that is incomprehensible. It seemed that every organ in his body had turned into a monster, powerful and terrifying. Yuan lowered his head and looked at himself. He didn't know how to describe his current state. He was convinced that he was still human. However, without relying on any weird puzzles and cursed props, his body can perfectly blend with the weirdness of this horrifying world. Just as the fish are in the water, the birds are in the sky. As if he was born to be weird. Thus, Count Yuan himself. Then on his side, there are 3 4-star strange combat powers. You can run amok. At the same time, outside the coffin, the paper people carried the coffin and jumped forward with a unique rhythm. All of a sudden, their feet went limp and they nearly fell to their knees. Creak. The 5 paper figurines turned their heads stiffly and looked at each other. In every treacherous eyes, can't help revealing the strong horror. This sudden pause was not their fault, but because of the coercion that suddenly surged in the coffin. In an instant, the weight of this coffin was several times heavier than before. It's as if the person inside, whose ferocity level has been horribly increased in an instant. Originally, Yuan was cruel enough. Now it's getting tougher. That's okay. The 5 paper figurines are weird, and they dare not neglect at all. Quickly adjusted his state, and jumped towards the Drum Tower Theater at a faster speed. None of them want to bear the wrath from Yuan. Drum Tower Theater. A row of red lanterns hung neatly on the outer wall, and the dense red light was like blood mist, imbuing the whole theater with a strange atmosphere. There is a dark green stone lion at the door. 7 legs, 4 tails, 2 heads, extremely grotesque. 4 eyes of different sizes glowed with gloomy light, looking fiercely forward. Obviously, he is a strange creature, and the level of terror is not low. Next to the strange stone lion, there is a somewhat decayed hanging tag. A line of twisted blood was written on it. Today's show? Showtime, 2030. Every audience, please wait patiently. You can enter the venue 10 minutes in advance. There was already a long queue in front of the stone lions. These are human players. All of them looked tense and embarrassed, and their eyes were full of deep fear. If given a choice, none of them would want to set foot in this murderous land. But they can't help it. When going out to explore, a random task was triggered. You must come to the Drum Tower Theater and listen to a play. And Xia Qingzhu, the person in charge of Fengcheng's Horror Affairs Department, impressively also among the crowd. She acted tonight because she originally wanted to investigate the mysterious person. But after receiving the mission of the horror game, she could only temporarily change the destination. Sister Qingzhu, tell me, which ghost show is sung in this big theater? Chen Dashan asked in a low voice, a member of the affairs department and a 1-star top trickster. Xia Qingzhu looked serious. Some shook his head with difficulty. After all, this is a place of great evil, and the ghost scenes inside must be extraordinary. If it is a last resort and you evacuate immediately, I will try my best to delay you. Although he said so, but Xia Qingzhu didn't have any confidence at all. The most ominous place, Longtan and Tiger's Lair, is strange and inexplicable. Who dares to say that he can have the assurance of getting out of his body? And at this moment, there was a strange thumping sound. Sister Qingzhu looked quickly. What is that thing? Indong, another member of the affairs department, let out an exclamation. Xia Qingzhu looked in the direction of his finger. Then the whole person tensed up instantly, and the hairs all over his body stood on end. She saw an extremely horrifying scene. 5 yellow paper men carried a coffin and walked towards this side at a very fast speed, step by step. And every time they jumped, they would raise the swana in their hands and blow out an extremely desolate and mournful tone. Make this scene even more weird and evil. The hearts of the other human players were also half-cooled. It was as if all the blood vessels in the body were blocked at this moment. All the blood has condensed and no longer flows. I, standing in front of the Drum Tower Theater, faced this terrifying stone lion. It has already made them extremely nervous. Now there is another paper man who is no less weird to carry the coffin. This is tantamount to a hard knock on their already tense nerves. No one dared to act rashly. No one even dared to make a sound. I'm afraid that one inadvertent behavior will bring about a disaster of death for myself. Soon, the weird paper figurines came to the gate of the Drum Tower Theater. They stopped, then spread out very tacitly. Put the coffin carefully on the ground. My lord, we're here. Their movements are gentle and gentle, their expressions are respectful and flattering, and their voices are full of humility. It was like fear of disturbing the devil in the coffin. Everyone present was dumbfounded. It never occurred to them. This strange and frightening creature actually has such a dog-legged side. Xia Qingzhu's heart tightened even more. She can clearly feel it. These 5 paper figurines are weird, and they are all 1-star top-level horror. And there is some kind of indescribable, mysterious connection between them, coupled with the blessing of this coffin. The 5 of them combined will be able to erupt a supernatural power comparable to that of a 2-star top. Even Xia Qingzhu, who is a 2-star top trickster, has a very difficult time dealing with such weirdness. And it makes these 5 paper figurines so docile and docile. What kind of terrifying existence would the things in the coffin be? Xia Qingzhu didn't dare to think about it. I can't even think about it. Chapter 16. There was a creak. The coffin lid slowly slid open. Xia Qingzhu, all members of the Horror Affairs Department, and every human player present. All of them were tense, their eyes were solemn, and they took a step back subconsciously. They are all concerned with fear. I'm afraid that an extremely terrifying and evil strange creature will emerge from this coffin. Under the gaze of the crowd, Yuan was unhurried, calm and leisurely, and walked out of the coffin leisurely. An invisible breath of nothingness wraps around him, isolating prying eyes from any time and space. While Wukong was dressed in a black robe, with trembling tentacles under his body, dragging a chain of ecstasy, with endless malice, standing on the left side of Yuan. and Nie Yan Luo is majestic and ferocious, with 5 blood-red eyes full of indifference on his face, standing quietly behind Gu Yuan on the right. All the human players couldn't help but gasp. The true master in the coffin is more terrifying than they imagined. Whether it is evil and impermanence, or evil Yama, all brought them an extremely terrifying oppressive force. As for Gu Yuan in the middle, let alone just stand there. There is no unnecessary action. It's almost suffocating them. It's him. Xia Qingzhu's heart was even more shocked, and there was a bit of horror in his eyes. It looks like a human being, but the whole body is covered with clouds and mist, illusory but real. At the same time, there is a black robe accompanying him strangely. Isn't this the horror that killed the quartet in the horror game Advent Night in the safe zone? The survivors said. How could he appear here? Judging from the aura on his body, his degree of terror is far more terrifying than those survivors described. At least, the horror and weirdness of the 5 blood eyes has never been mentioned in the previous information. Is this the Drum Tower Theater? Oh, still waiting in line? Gu Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly, looking around with great interest. The scrutinizing eyes swept over the human players present. Here Gu Yuan talking to himself. The surrounding human players moved several positions to the side in an instant, as if they were electrocuted. Give Gu Yuan a broad road leading to the front. The movements are uniform, without any lag. It's like it was agreed beforehand. Can paper figurines carry the coffin, and 2 terrifying and strange figures accompany them? Can they afford to provoke such an existence? Let this one line up behind them? What are you kidding? Even if Gu Yuan is willing, they don't have the guts either. Everyone's reaction made Gu Yuan slightly taken aback. Has my level of terror already reached such a high level before I knew it? He smiled frankly, not too entangled. Turning her head leisurely, her eyes swept over the 5 strange paper figurines. According to his previous style, Weird must kill one at sight, and do everything possible to search for weird puzzles to strengthen himself. But these 5 paper figurines were weird, and he wasn't going to do it. For one thing, the weird level of the paper doll is very low, and the weird puzzles that can be produced are also very weak. There was also little help for Gu Yuan. The price/performance ratio of killing them is really too low. Secondly, these 5 paper figurines are weird, although their strength is not strong, but fast. Very suitable as a means of transportation. Gu Yuan has just personally experienced this point. Rather than slaughtering them, it is better to keep them as dogs, which can also save energy. As for the third reason, it is a kind of intuition. Gu Yuan always felt that these 5 paper figurines were weird, and it seemed that they were not as simple as they appeared on the surface. Because compared to other weirdness of the same level, some of them are too smart, too autonomously intelligent. There may still be some kind of secret hidden in them. Keeping the few of them by his side, Gu Yuan can slowly explore the secrets behind it, and maybe he can use this to obtain greater and more substantial benefits. Being glanced at by Gu Yuan like this, the weird paper figurines all panicked. They nodded and bowed hurriedly, with humble and flattering expressions. My lord, do you have any other orders? You 5 wait for me here. After I come out, I have to trouble you to take me home. Gu Yuan spoke calmly. The tone was calm, but with an unquestionable majesty. Xia Qingzhu could see it clearly. On the weird faces of these 5 paper figurines, there was a very obvious reluctance. This kind of humanized expression, combined with their distorted bodies of yellow paper talismans, can't help but add a bit of weirdness and horror. I'm afraid that only a peerless murderer like Gu Yuan can bring such terrifying psychological pressure to strange creatures. Gu Yuan raised his brows with a half-smile. Why, you don't want to? Almost at the same time, Evil Impermanence and Nie Yan Luo both took a step forward at the same time. That extremely cold and depressing strange aura instantly soared many times. It's like Mount Tai crushing the top, like the door of hell is wide open, full of strong death energy. It's a threat. Or, these 5 paper figurines are weird and honestly accept Gu Yuan's solicitation and become Gu Yuan's personal driver. Or, what greets them will be a violent storm from 2 4-star weird creatures, Evil Impermanence and Nie Yan Luo. Willing. My lord, we are willing. These weird paper figurines were all trembling with fright, and then dare not have the slightest hesitation. They all nodded in agreement. Very good. Gu Yuan nodded in satisfaction. Immediately no longer stay. He took a big stride directly, and together with Evil Impermanence and Nie Yan Luo, he passed the crowd and came to the front of the team. The ghost show starts at 8:30. If it's 10 minutes earlier, it's 8:20. Gu Yuan glanced at the notice board. Another glance at the strange stone lion. can't help but stop, intending to wait patiently. The strange stone lion is a 3-star mid-level strange creature. For other human players, it is a great terror that cannot be provoked. But in front of Gu Yuan, it was nothing at all, and he could be easily pressed to death. However, beating a dog depends on the owner. After all, the stone lion is the gatekeeper of the Drum Tower Theater, and behind it is the whole murderous place. Without knowing the details, Gu Yuan didn't want to be too reckless. Just wait patiently. However, this indifferent stone lion is strange, as if it feels something special. He actually took the initiative to shift a position. Behind him, the heavy door of the Drum Tower Theater also opened without warning. There is endless darkness inside, and nothing can be seen. It's like a terrifying prehistoric behemoth, opening its bloody mouth, waiting to choose someone to devour. Chapter 17. See this scene. The other human players were shocked again. A boss is a boss. Perks abound. Let 5 paper figurines strangely carry the coffin and escort it. Even the weird gatekeeper of the theater gave him the green light and allowed him to enter the theater early? This is. Gu Yuan was also a little surprised. You are different. The stone lion whispered strangely. His voice was hoarse and cracked, as if it had been squeezed out from between his teeth. They need to wait. You don't. They are just the audience, and you are the people in the play? Gu Yuan frowned slightly. People in the play? Could it be that this time, what he wants to do is not to listen to a ghost show, but to act a ghost show? The bloody screen of the horror game flickered at the right moment. Congratulations, you have successfully arrived at the Drum Tower Theater before 2000 hours, and the first phase of the task has been successfully completed. The mission rewards will be settled uniformly after the end of the mission in all stages. The second phase of the task is started. Mission content. You came here under the guidance of the Red Moon, and the stone lion guarding the gate of the theater opened the gate of the Drum Tower Theater for you. You can feel that there seems to be a mysterious force calling you in the theater. You are an indispensable role in this upcoming ghost show. Mission objective. Get what you need and get ready to perform on stage. Mission success reward, determined according to the degree of mission completion. Punishment for mission failure. No punishment, but the ghost show will still start normally. If you are not prepared, you may face terrible things. Note, due to the requirements of the task, you have additionally obtained some knowledge about ghost shows, as well as advanced skills in theater singing. Gu Yuan nodded slightly. It's clear in my heart. I see. He can be distinguished from other human players, and he can get extra benefits from stone lions. That's because of the hidden mission on him. The other players are just looking at the flowers on a horse and watching the flowers, tasting it. And he will really see the deeper mystery hidden behind the Drum Tower Theater. Just think about it. Gu Yuan didn't hesitate anymore. Straight away, with evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo, he crossed the threshold of the Drum Tower Theater and entered the ominous darkness that seemed to be able to eat people. He would like to see what this so-called murderous place, this so-called ghost show is going to be. But the stone lion was weird and quietly returned to its original position, continuing to play the role of gatekeeper. Long after Gu Yuan disappeared, those human players finally dared to take a big breath. They looked at each other, eyes full of lingering fear. Is the one just now really human? Why does he make me feel more terrifying than weird creatures? The paper figurine carried the coffin, accompanied it strangely, walked out of the coffin, and let the door of the place of great evil be opened in advance. Is this method really human beings able to do? You say, this shouldn't be the boss of a horror game? I think it's possible. Didn't you just say that the stone lion is weird? This is a character in the play. How could we collide with such a terrifying existence? Who the hell can play such a boss? Please, let me listen to this ghost show safely. I don't want to die. The crowd wailed unceasingly. The eyes are extremely complicated, full of fear, panic, helplessness, bitterness. Sister Qingzhu, should we really continue to investigate this person's details? At present, it seems that this person has no interest in ordinary humans at all, and hardly has any real harm. If you pursue it in depth, in case you offend this, Chen Dashan, a member of the affairs department, looked ugly and asked cautiously. He didn't finish, but all the members of the affairs department understood what he meant. Gu Yuan's horror level is too high. Once he gets angry, it will be a catastrophe affecting the entire Fengqing. People from the affairs department like them can't help it at all. Xia Qingzhu shook his head weakly. Through the meeting just now, she has fully understood the gap between herself and Gu Yuan. Unattainable. No more investigations. This matter is beyond the scope of our ability to deal with it. I just hope that the big shots at the headquarters can arrive soon. Only those bigwigs who are at the forefront of the world of tricksters can withstand this pressure. Gu Yuan walked into the theater. Facing it is a towering painted wall. There are countless thick and colorful facial makeup hanging on it. Once born, clean and ugly. Red, green, black, white, and blue. Guan Yu, Chao Chao, Do or Done, Bao Zheng, Shuirengui, all kinds, countless. And the weird thing is, these Facebook, no matter what type, what identity, at the corners of the eyes, a long and narrow trace was painted with scarlet oil paint. It was as if these facial makeups were bleeding with blood and tears. It seems that the eyes of these facial makeups have been dug out abruptly, and these scarlet oil paints are just a trace left behind. It looks so scary, it makes the scalp numb, and the whole body feels cold, as expected of a place of great viciousness. It's this kind of ostentation as soon as you come in. It's really weird. Gu Yuan sighed sincerely. He has a strange feeling. It's as if these faces have a life of their own, rather than simply dead objects. Behind the face, there seemed to be unknown creatures peeping at Gu Yuan secretly, which made people feel a sense of discomfort from the bottom of their hearts. Wait, the goal of my mission is to find what I need and get ready to perform on stage. So, these Facebooks, maybe one of the ones I need? Gu Yuan raised his eyebrows. This task is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 18. There are so many Facebooks. Which one do I need? Gu Yuan frowned slightly. Runes and bloodshot eyes appeared in the eyes, and the original pupil was quietly running. He scrutinized them carefully, hoped to find some kind of deeper clue. Soon, Gu Yuan discovered the anomaly. His gaze was locked on an extremely white and soft face. This is a niche business. Su Xian's appearance. On other face makeups, the blood and tears were frozen. Only the blood and tears on Su Xian's face are flowing downward, as if they just flowed out. The speed is so slow that it is almost indistinguishable to the naked eye. In addition, there was a hazy surge of supernatural power, distorting the surrounding space. Ordinary human players will definitely not be able to see this subtle difference. Only a mysterious and powerful existence like the original pupil can detect everything. If nothing else, this Su Xian facial makeup is one of the performance preparations that Gu Yuan needs. You are the one. Gu Yuan chuckled lightly. Immediately, he suddenly raised his hand and reached towards Su Xian's face. At the same time, the entire screen wall suddenly began to vibrate with an extremely strange frequency. With a whistling sound, all the facial makeup fell off the screen wall in unison and began to spin crazily around Gu Yuan. Gold powder is not dead, smelling the fragrance of the 6 dynasties, and the tobacco all over the world breaks people's hearts. It turns out that the colorful flowers are blooming everywhere, and they are all ruined like this. Achieve nothing and have 2 temples, lamenting that the time is gone and never returned. A shrill or mournful opera libretto rang in Gu Yuan's ears, with ups and downs. Countless strange figures shuttled and danced. The sleeves are continuous, and the red flag is waving. It seems that countless drama stages overlap here. The surging supernatural power kept clamoring, like sharp blades, as if they wanted to completely smash Gu Yuan into pieces. The terrifying cold aura is like the tide, rolling up and down. This is Zhaobi's resistance. Or to be more precise, this is the resistance of that Su Xian face. He is not willing to be a prop for Gu Yuan to participate in the ghost show. He wants to keep the original freedom. Aren't you obedient? That's up to you. Gu Yuan sneered. Behind him, Nie Yan Luo suddenly took a step forward. He stared straight at the tumbling faces. The 5 blood-red eyes opened wide at the same time. The eyeballs protruded outwards in a strange manner. The seal of the bone seal in his hand rises in the air, rising against the wind. A weird and mysterious domineering atmosphere swept out in an instant, as if to be condescending and judge all mysterious things. Almost instantly, those Facebook faces that had gone berserk all fell silent. It fell from the sky to the ground, scattered in pieces. That Su Xian face was also lying on the ground, motionless, no longer the agility and strangeness of before. Under the suppression of Nie Yan Luo's terrifying supernatural power, These facial makeups have no ability to resist at all. They can only fall into silence. Gu Yuan smiled lightly. He took a step forward and picked up Su Xian's facial makeup. The touch is very strange. The elasticity is very good. It is real human skin. Ghost face makeup, Su Xian. Grade. 4-star weird puzzle. Introduction. This is a mysterious face that seems to come from hell. When you wear it, you may no longer be yourself. Gu Yuan chuckled lightly, without the slightest hesitation or fear. He directly put this Su Xian's facial makeup on his own face. Almost instantly, the ghost mask fit perfectly with Gu Yuan's face, as if they were completely integrated. The strong and prominent oil paint, as if alive, wandered back and forth on Gu Yuan's face, full of strange meanings. A cold breath flowed into Gu Yuan's body, causing a tingling sensation. It seems that they want to occupy Gu Yuan's face and seize control of this body. But deep in Gu Yuan's soul, a more terrifying aura boiled up, instantly suppressing the agitation of the ghost face completely. The supernatural power of the ghost face, like a docile puppy, is entrenched on Gu Yuan's face, and Gu Yuan calls it at will. It turns out that merging weird puzzles feels like this. It's not easy to be a trick master. Fortunately, I have the power of dark mythology. This power is too high to surpass most of the strange creatures. These weird puzzles are absolutely impossible for me to recover. Gu Yuan smiled faintly. For the first time since the advent of horror games, he's directly fused with spooky puzzles. Before, it was thrown to the impermanence to swallow and digest. Congratulations, you have successfully found one of the necessary props for performing on stage. Current task completion progress, 50%. Note, the time is now 2010, and you still have 20 minutes. The bloody screen flickered, indicating the progress of Gu Yuan's mission. Gu Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly. My guess was right. This Su Xian face is exactly what I need. The task is 50% complete, so if you say that, I still need to collect another prop for the performance? He muttered to himself. There was a very strange smile on the face covered with bright oil paint. Immediately afterwards, he took a direct step, bypassing the screen wall, and entered the deeper part of the Drum Tower Theater. Chapter 19. Past the screen wall. Came to the backstage of the Drum Tower Theater. The walls are full of black cracks, densely packed like spider webs. The wall skin is peeling off in spots, making it look extremely mottled. All kinds of theater props are placed in a haphazard manner. All kinds of costumes, scarlet bloody banners, rusty gongs and cymbals. The whole is filled with a decayed and dilapidated atmosphere. It seems that it has experienced hundreds of years of devastation. You know, the completion of the Drum Tower Theater is only 5 years away. Even if no one takes care of it, it will definitely not be dilapidated like this. This is obviously the result of the erosion of spiritual power. The strange creatures lurking in the theater have transformed it into a shape suitable for their survival. For this, Gu Yuan has long been mentally prepared. This is a place of great evil. If everything is normal, that is the biggest weirdness. What I got was Su Xian's ghost face. That is to say, the ghost drama that will be staged at the Drum Tower Theater tonight should be Legend of the White Snake. Su Xian and Bai Suzhen got married because of the kindness of giving an umbrella when they met on the broken bridge. The oil paper umbrella is the beginning of the whole story, and it is also the core element throughout the whole story. You can live without anything else, but you absolutely cannot live without that umbrella. So, the only thing left to sing on stage should be an umbrella. Gu Yuan analyzed it by himself. His eyes also became brighter and brighter. With a clear direction, it is much easier to find it. Soon, Gu Yuan found his target. The whole body of this umbrella is pure pale in color and rough in texture, just like the paper money ordered when going to the grave in Qingming. The handle of the umbrella is scarlet, as if smeared with blood. The combination of the two colors looks extremely gloomy and seems to represent some kind of extreme ominousness. Gu Yuan could feel it. This umbrella has a mysterious connection with the grimace on his body. It seems that they are one. It's a whole weird jigsaw puzzle that belongs to the same one. Got you. Gu Yuan chuckled lightly, immediately stepped forward. Pick up this umbrella. The handle of the umbrella is cold and hard, like the wrist of a dead man who has been dead for a long time. The moment he touched Gu Yuan, the white paper umbrella suddenly opened automatically, enveloped Gu Yuan completely. Only then did Gu Yuan see that the inner umbrella surface was filled with black inscriptions, like a wreath, full of extreme horror. And what's even weirder, There were strands of slender hair-like rain falling from the top of the umbrella, completely covering Gu Yuan. Only rain under the umbrella. No changes at all elsewhere. This stream of rain is very light and soft. It seems to be the most comfortable slanting wind and drizzle. However, Gu Yuan is very clear. These raindrops are actually the supernatural attack of this ghost umbrella in essence. It contains a very terrifying and strange power, which is enough to shatter the bones and melt gold and jade. Sure enough, every weirdness is not good. Gu Yuan said something to himself. On the side, evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo have already attacked at the same time. The tongue of the evil impermanence trembled, trembling at a very high frequency, and spit out a shrill and mysterious wail. Waves of invisible spiritual fluctuations penetrated, causing all the rain to stagnate instantly. Nie Yan Luo's 5 blood-colored pupils widened, and a strange red light shot out. All of a sudden, all the rain disappeared. At the same time, those inscriptions on the surface of the ghost umbrella were forcibly painted with a scarlet cross by an invisible force. These 2 4-star mythical monsters teamed up to easily suppress this terrifying ghost umbrella that has not yet fully recovered. At this moment, he has completely become Gu Yuan's plaything. Strange white paper umbrella. Grade. 4-star weird puzzle. Introduction. An ominous umbrella, carrying too much resentment. When you pick him up, these grievances will be destined to be borne by you. Gu Yuan smiled slightly, slowly playing with this ghost umbrella. This trip was not in vain. With this ghost umbrella alone, Gu Yuan's efforts were not in vain. 4-star. This is by far the most advanced spooky puzzle he's ever gotten. And the power of dark myths can turn decay into magic, kneading weirdness with supreme power and recreating creatures. As long as Gu Yuan finds 2 more suitable 4-star materials, he can try to create 5-star weird creatures. Immediately afterwards, the reminder of the horror game sounded. Congratulations, you have successfully obtained the necessary props for the second stage performance. The second phase of the mission has been completed, and the mission rewards will be settled after completing all the missions. The third phase of the mission is open. The main goal of the mission: successfully complete the ghost show. Secondary objective of the mission: get the deep approval of Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing as much as possible. Task introduction. You are ready for the ghost show, and the audience outside the arena is already full. He are here for you. This is a play. This is not a play. Your arrival brought unpredictable changes to this ghost show with a fixed plot. The thread of fate has begun to fluctuate, and where the river of fate goes depends on your choice. Reward for task completion depends on the degree of task completion. Punishment for mission failure: you will be permanently deprived of the qualification to enter the ghost theater. Gu Yuan frowned. After this period of adaptation, he has recognized an important law. Hints for horror games don't come without aim. Every sentence, every word, every detail may hide important secrets. A variable? A thread of fate? Depends on my choice? This means that I can freely play according to my own ideas and direct the drama to the direction that is most beneficial to me. Gu Yuan seized the last few minutes and thought quickly. If it's all here, then he must do everything possible to get the most benefit. If the direction of the plot is changed appropriately and something can be gained, then Gu Yuan will naturally not give up. There is also this task punishment, which is also very special. If I fail, I will lose the qualification to enter the Drum Tower Theater forever. Gu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. The look of doubt in his eyes was a little heavier. What kind of punishment is this? No pain, no itching, no real damage. But Gu Yuan understands that horror games don't do useless things. A faint intuition told him that if he really lost the opportunity to enter the Drum Tower Theater, he would miss many important things. You still have to go all out. Chapter 20. The front hall of the Drum Tower Theater. The huge theater is full of seats at this moment. The human players sat in the middle front row. This is the most central location with the best view. Proper VIP treatment. It would be a great thing to have such a seat with an excellent view in normal times. But this is a ghost show. Human players would like to sit a little farther, and a little further. And, even more terrifying, all around them, on the other seats, were all strange creatures. An old man in ancient clothes with black corpse spots all over his face. Only half of the body, the terracotta figurines whose eyes have been dug out. It was cut open, and a pregnant woman with a blue baby lay inside. yellow mud dripping with stinky juice, complete human skin covered with strange tattoos. One is more terrifying than the other, and the other is more terrifying. Almost every strange creature has an extremely ghastly, chilly aura. Let this already gloomy ghost theater add a bit more weird atmosphere. Their gazes flicked from time to time, sweeping across the human players, filled with endless greed and malice. It is their instinct to attack humans and devour flesh and blood. However, it seems to be limited by some supernatural rules of the theater. They all sat obediently in their seats, only dare to look at human beings, but dare not take any other superfluous actions at all. The human players looked at each other. Everyone's face was extremely ugly, so pale that there was no trace of blood. It's over, it's over, it's over. Why are we so unlucky? It's fine to be arranged to listen to a ghost show, but we are surrounded by strange creatures. We have plunged into the strange nest directly. There are so many strange creatures, we add up, and they are not enough for them to squeeze their teeth. I'm dead. I'm dead this time. If I can go back alive, I will eat fast and chant Buddha's name every day. Go back alive? Stop dreaming. We all have to die. If there is a choice, can I die at the hands of that female ghost in red? At least she is good-looking. Other weird creatures are really disgusting. Everyone, including Xia Qingzhu and Chen Dashan, senior tricksters from the Department of Horror Affairs, all despaired. The most instinctive panic surged in his eyes. For the first time, in a real sense, they realized the horror of the great ominous land. With such a huge number of strange creatures, it can be called an enhanced version of Hyaki Nightwalk. It is enough to crush any trickster directly into powder. In extreme despair, some people simply clicked into the World Channel, opened a post, and wrote a suicide note for themselves in advance. Brothers, my name is Yang Jian. When you read this line of text, I should be dead. This is my suicide note. Tonight, I have received an extremely terrifying mission to come to the Drum Tower Theater to listen to a ghost show. This is a place of great evil. Before the ghost show even started, there were already strange creatures sitting next to me. I really hope this is a dream. I really hope that when I wake up, the world will return to its original state. Even if it is 996 every day, being exploited by capitalists is much better than this kind of horror world walking in the gate of hell. Brothers who saw this post, please pay attention. Don't go close to the Drum Tower Theater. Don't get close to the Drum Tower Theater. Don't go close to the Drum Tower Theater. This is a warning with my life. Picture what Yang Jian sent was the interior view of the Drum Tower Theater. As soon as this post was posted, it immediately received a lot of attention. It became the most popular post among the world channels. Countless human players follow the thread below. But the content of the post is also full of helplessness, sympathy, and despair. No one can give the slightest worthwhile advice. They all saw the terrifying Drum Tower Theater. In the face of such a terrible picture, even the most optimistic people can't laugh at all. Everyone thought that Yang Jian and all the human players who were forced to enter the Drum Tower Theater were doomed. When? The crisp sound of the gong suddenly sounded without warning. It echoed endlessly in the empty theater hall, breaking the original silence. These tense human players couldn't help but slapped fiercely. Immediately afterwards, under the domination of an invisible and inexplicable supernatural power, the human players involuntarily straightened up, sitting upright like elementary school students. At the same time, he couldn't help raising his hands and began to applaud. The applause was extremely warm, as if everyone was looking forward to this long-overdue ghost show. This kind of excited and fanatical gesture, combined with the bitter and flustered expressions on their faces, is even more paradoxical. Under the gaze of everyone's fear, the red curtain that blocked the stage was slowly opened. In front of the distorted landscape, there are two extremely slim figures standing there gracefully. One was wearing a snow-white long dress, graceful and luxurious and beautiful. The other is wearing a blue short jacket, smart and capable, and looks like a maid. In terms of appearance, they are all first-class and stunning in the world. But it is impossible to ignore. The faces of the two of them were pale, as if they had been covered with a layer of white powder, but their lips were scarlet, as if they had been smeared with blood. Wearing embroidered shoes under his feet, he was 3 inches above the ground, suspended in midair. Waves of chilly aura that made one's heart tremble rolled out wantonly, causing the temperature of the Drum Tower Theater to drop a lot quietly. Obviously, the two of them are definitely not kind. It's all that kind of extremely terrifying and weird. This is White Snake by Suzhen, green snake, Tsin Beaching. So, today's ghost show is Legend of the White Snake? Where's the mysterious person just now? Sure said strangely that he is also a character in the play. What kind of role will he play in this ghost play? Xia Qingzhu had already recognized the strange appearances of these two women. Her eyes were extremely solemn, and she muttered to herself. On the stage, Bai Sujin moved lightly with her lotus steps and took a step forward with her graceful figure. The red lips parted lightly, and he spit out a chant like pearls and jade, driving colorful clouds to leave a May fairy mountain. There is such a beautiful lake and river in the world. On the Su Causeway, Liusi pulls the boat lightly, and the peach and plum blossoms in the trembling wind seem to be shy of spring and cold. The cadence, babbling. The tune is long and sharp, as if it can directly touch the soul. It made everyone tremble, and their scalps tingled uncontrollably. This ghost show has officially begun. Chapter 21. Sister, this is the broken bridge? How can the bridge be broken? Gue Shaoqing also took a step forward and took Gue Sujin's arm. The two women are very close. Their sleeves are shaking slightly, their eyes are blurred, but there is a bit of horror in their beauty. Sister Qing, although it is called Broken Bridge, when did the bridge ever break? Tourists pass by in twos and threes on the bridge pavilion, facing this beautiful lake and mountains, frowning. Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing. You say something, I say it. Two different styles of opera accents are intertwined, and the terrifying supernatural power superimposes on each other, making it even more monstrous. Yeah. In an instant, the sky changed, and the wind and clouds also darkened. Sister, it's raining heavily, let's go. The two female ghosts took a step back and looked up. Faintly, it seemed that there was really rolling thunder and exploding, and the pouring rain was pouring down. The temperature in the Drum Tower Theater is getting lower and lower, like an ice cave. The strange air became stronger and stronger, filling the entire hall, depressing and suffocating. Xia Qingzhu's face was stiff and her eyes were terrified. This ghost show has only just begun. He actually showed such a terrifying side. She could feel that she was gradually losing control of her body, and her blood seemed to be about to freeze completely. And the weird jigsaw puzzle in the body is recovering dozens of times faster than normal. At this moment, her right hand has swelled up in a strange posture, and countless black spots are growing on the skin, as if it is covered with mold and is about to rot. The strange jigsaw puzzle in her body is gradually becoming concrete. According to this rhythm, there is no need to wait for the end of the ghost show, and there is no need for those weird audiences around to do anything. The weird jigsaw puzzle of the rotten ghost hand alone is enough to completely replace her, devour her humanity, completely annihilate her, and completely transform her into a weird creature. You know, Xia Qingzhu is the head of the Fengqing region of the Horror Affairs Department. Among these human players present, she is the strongest and has the most experience in dealing with weirdness. Even she was caught in such a difficult situation. Others fared worse. Everyone is suffering from the resurgence of the weird jigsaw puzzle. And at this moment, a voice completely different from that of Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing sounded. This is a male voice. Just now Ling Yin went to sweep the tomb, and when he came back, the wind and rain suddenly blurred. How can there be leisure at this time? How can it be appropriate to shelter from the rain under the willows? The same kind of extremely exaggerated and sharp drama, but it seems to be mixed with extremely tough and majestic power. Unexpectedly, the spiritual coercion created by Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing was swept away all at once. All the human players couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The weird jigsaw puzzles in their bodies were recovering crazily, evolving into tyrannical supernatural power. But after this male voice appeared, they all fell silent. It was as if he had encountered some extremely terrifying natural enemy, and he did not dare to be arrogant anymore, so he could only bow his head respectfully. A tall figure stepped out. He was dressed as a scholar, with weird oil paint on his face. On the white and clean background, a few glaring scarlet streaks were outlined, making it look extremely strange and evil. Holding a mysterious paper umbrella full of founding characters in his hand, surging evil spirits soaring to the sky. Although the costumes were changed, all human players immediately recognized the man's identity. Yuan. It's him. Yes, it's that boss just now. I just said that the stone lion at the door was weird. This boss is a character in the play. Now I finally understand what that means. Wei Wei is playing the role of the White Lady, and the big guy is probably playing Su Xian. This is going to have a bad relationship with Ngui. Only a character like the boss can face such a terrifying female trickster face to face. I can see that today's ghost show is actually a confrontation between the big boss and the female trick. If the big boss can win, then we still have lives. Everyone couldn't help clenching their fists. Without blinking his eyes, he stared at the stage firmly. The appearance of Gu Yuan ignited a glimmer of hope for them to survive again. Xia Qingzhu also bit her lips silently. She stared at the tall and handsome figure of Gu Yuan on the stage, with a complicated look in her eyes. The scene just now made her realize even more how terrifying Gu Yuan is. Facing the spiritual suppression of the female ghost libretto, they are completely powerless to resist, and can only passively bear the pain caused by the recovery of the weird jigsaw puzzle. Not only was Gu Yuan not affected in any way, but he was even able to suppress the supernatural power of the female ghost in turn. This level of horror is beyond Xia Qingzhu's comprehension. On the stage, both Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing stared at Gu Yuan with expressionless faces and indifferent eyes, waiting for Gu Yuan's next move. It seems that if Gu Yuan makes a wrong step, he will be attacked by these two strange creatures. Gu Yuan took his time and walked gracefully according to a special rhythm, step by step, and came to Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing. He lowered his head slightly and sent the white paper umbrella forward, looking like a humble scholar. A long and cadenced libretto burst out of the mouth. "Ah, two ladies, how can Lu Xia avoid such a heavy rain? You might as well use my umbrella." Gue Suzhen's eyes rolled, and she took a deep look at Gu Yuan. There was a bit of shyness on that pale face. "Ah, gentlemen, how can this be done?" "This is a wish, my lady. Don't refuse." Gu Yuan held the white paper umbrella in both hands, motionless and extremely determined. Sister gentleman's kindness. A strange smile appeared on Gue Shaoqing's bloodless face. Gue Suzhen didn't insist anymore, and raised her hand to take the umbrella. The slender fingertips brushed across the back of Gu Yuan's hand, seemingly intentionally or unintentionally. Smooth and tender but bitingly cold, like jade just picked up from a well. "In that case, thank you, gentlemen. Ask where Lang Jun's family lives, and knock on the door some other day to thank you. Xie Junzi, Ini Guang, kindly sent me to Qiantang. My family lives in the Red Building, and I still hope that the gentleman will come down soon. Don't teach me to look through the autumn water and want to break my heart." After a duet, Gue Suzhen and Gue Xiaoqinglian moved lightly. Their costumes fluttered and slowly drifted towards the back of the stage, disappearing into the darkness. Gu Yuan stood where he was, heaving a sigh of relief. In this ghost scene, the most important part of giving the umbrella has come to an end. As far as the current situation is concerned, everything is going well. But he didn't let up. This is just the beginning. He has not yet had a real confrontation with Weird. The next bridge section is the real dangerous moment. On both sides of the stage, the bright red curtains slowly closed and then slowly opened. In the blink of an eye, the scene has changed on the stage. It is no longer the scenery of lakes and mountains, and the willows are Instead, it is decorated with lanterns and festoons, beaming with joy. The four sides are plastered with red Shi characters. 3 long and 2 short red candles were placed on the table of the 8 immortals, exuding a strange gleam. And the scholar's opera robe on Gu Yuan's body also changed quietly, becoming a simple groom's dress. The big red flowers on the chest are extremely bright, and fresh blood is dripping down. Gu Yuan couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. This is a direct transition from the umbrella-giving bridge section to the marriage bridge section. Chapter 22. Gu Yuan couldn't help cheering up. If we say that the gift of the umbrella in the last scene is just the beginning of the fate between Su Xian and Bai Suzhan, then the marriage in this scene is the sublimation of the relationship between Su Xian and Bai Suzhan. In other words, Gu Yuan and Gue Suzhen will forge some kind of weird relationship here. If there is something wrong with this plot, then Gu Yuan will not be able to complete the ghost show satisfactorily, and this mission will fail. The air fluctuated slightly. Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing appeared on the stage again without warning. The outfits of the two of them have also been changed. Gue Shaoqing was wearing a short red gown that looked like a dowry maid. On Gue Suzhen's body was the most elegant, dignified, grand, and graceful Feng Wangxiapi, with a heepa on her head. It seems that this is the most normal wedding. But the lingering coldness in the air is reminding everyone. This is extremely dangerous, extremely abnormal horror. When Another sharp gong sounded. Gu Shaoqing took a step forward. There was a somewhat stiff smile on that pale face. He stared at Gu Yuan steadfastly, opened his mouth in a hissed voice, and sang a cadenced chant. Thousands of miles of marriage lead by a thread. The umbrella protects the head lotus. Westlake is as spring as the sea tonight. May it be like mandarin ducks and not envy immortals. Gentlemen, my sister will leave it to you today if you want. Treat her well. As she spoke, she pulled Gu Suzhen forward and put Gu Suzhen's slender hand in Gu Yuan's. Interlocking fingers. Gu Yuan can feel Gu Suzhen's existence more clearly. This hand has no temperature at all, like a piece of ice. There was even a scorpion-like chill penetrating upwards along the fingertips, as if wanting to invade Gu Yuan's body. But an incomparably mysterious and strange force circulated in Gu Yuan's body, dispelling the coldness from Gu Suzhen. This is a spontaneous resistance from dark mythical powers. Gu Yuan's eyes were serious. Sure enough, it was as he expected. The previous section of borrowing the umbrella bridge was actually not very dangerous, because there was a sufficient distance between him and Gu Suzhen. And now in the wedding stage, they will really have intimate contact with Gu Suzhen. It will also encounter further weird attacks from Gu Suzhen. If the master of tricks is too weak, he is afraid that the moment he holds hands with Gu Suzhen, his self-consciousness will be wiped out instantly. He will be infected by inexplicable weirdness and become a slave to tricks. Gu Yuan took a deep breath and didn't panic. Instead, according to the ghost play process, gently raised his hand and took off the happy handkerchief on Gu Suzhen's head. Gu Suzhen's face was immediately revealed. His originally pale face had already been smeared with an unknown powder at this moment, giving it a bright blush, a bit close to that of a living person. A pair of beautiful eyes are as seductive as silk, and the eyes are flowing, as if they can easily arouse the deepest desire in people's hearts. Combined with the gorgeous Fengwangxia cloak, it looks even more beautiful. There is no human woman who can compare with it. But Gu Yuan knew, behind this alluring beauty lies an immeasurable danger. After 10 years of cultivation, we can cross the same boat, and after 100 years of cultivation, we can sleep together. If there is good fortune in the millennium, the white head with one heart is in front of you. Gu Shaoqing still kept that weird smile, clapped her hands mechanically, and sang softly. The red wedding candles on the table kept shaking, emitting a strange shimmer. The pipa, suona, eru, and guzheng hidden somewhere are played together, weaving into a very strange melody. Intermittent, hoarse, and sharp, full of unspeakable horror. Gu Yuan and Gu Suzhen held hands and came to the middle of the stage. Miss, Officer, accompanied by 2 affectionate opera calls. One by one, they started dancing together. The dance steps are graceful and harmonious, as if they have been practiced thousands of times in private. Gu Suzhen's delicate body was getting closer and closer to Gu Yuan following the dance steps. In the end, even like a bird, she huddled in Gu Yuan's arms and was hugged by Gu Yuan. That beautiful face almost stuck to Gu Yuan's body. Ears and temples grind together, intimate. It was as if the newlywed little wife was frantically conveying her love and attachment to her husband. A real close encounter, fragrant to the extreme. At the same time, it's terrifying to the extreme. That cold and strange aura permeated Gu Yuan, attacking Gu Yuan crazily. But they were all expelled by Gu Yuan's own supernatural power, unable to really penetrate into Gu Yuan's body. The two sides are engaged in some kind of terrifying confrontation between the invisible. Everyone in the audience stared blankly at this scene. All of them were stiff, their scalps were numb, and they dared not move. Gu Suzhen is very beautiful. She was more beautiful than any woman they had ever seen before. Every move, every frown and smile, has all kinds of indescribable amorous feelings. But even if they were given 100 guts, they wouldn't dare to touch Gu Suzhen at all. This is a truly strange creature. Its horror is immeasurable. Maybe even one breath can cost them half their lives. Perhaps only an existence like Gu Yuan is qualified to dance with Gu Suzhen. Although they can't see through it, they can fully guess how dangerous it is on the stage at the moment. Gradually, the music stops. The dance steps of Gu Yuan and Gu Suzhen also stopped. The 5 red candles on the table of the 8 immortals crackled at the same time, shining brightly. A strange red light enveloped the entire stage. A husband and wife for a day. 100 days of grace, officials. Don't blame me. Gu Suzhen was half lying in Gu Yuan's arms, watching Gu Yuan quietly, with a shy face and blurred eyes. Gu Yuan had a strong feeling. After this weird wedding scene ended, he established a special and mysterious relationship with Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing. Some illusory, some fragile. It seems that it can be easily cut off. But it exists. At least, the cold aura from Gue Suzhen no longer tried to attack Gu Yuan. It seems that the existence of Gu Yuan, an official, has been recognized. Chapter 23. Everyone in the audience saw this. All silently breathed a sigh of relief. When Gu Yuan and Gue Suzhen danced together just now, they were all sweating. I pray silently for Gu Yuan in my heart. No matter how stupid they are, they fully understand that their lives are tied to Gu Yuan. Only Gu Yuan successfully completed the ghost show. They, the audience, have the possibility of surviving. But looking at it now, the boss is a boss after all, and his strength is unfathomable. Perhaps they can really survive this almost fatal task tonight with Gu Yuan's lap. At this moment, Gu Yuan became the hope of all human players present. The red cloth on the stage was closed and unfolded again. This ghost show then entered the third act. The scenery was changed again. Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing were sitting in the clinic, prescribing prescriptions for their illnesses. Gu Yuan was dressed as a scholar, with a basket on his back, as if he had just returned from gathering herbs. At the same time, a Buddha's horn sounded. Amitabha. The supposedly solemn Buddha's name was hoarse and sharp, as if it had been forcefully squeezed out of his throat. It sounds extremely eerie. A figure suddenly appeared on the stage. He is thin, with one hand holding the panlong staff commonly seen in Buddhism, and the other hand standing in front of him. The exposed skin showed a dry and cracked posture, like a mummy. The whole face drooped. It seemed that there was no flesh and blood, only a piece of human skin, covered with bones. The most eye-catching thing is that he is wearing a bright yellow cassock on his body. It's just that there are black stains on the cassock, which look like dried blood. From him, you can't see the holiness and compassion of monks, only an indescribable coldness and evil nature. See this figure. Everyone in the audience trembled. With this appearance, his identity is already obvious. In addition to Su Xian, Bai Suzhen, and Shaoqing, there is another key role in this ghost show, Legend of the White Snake. Fahai. Gu Yuan also narrowed his eyes. A cold and stern look flashed across his eyes. He has passed the test between Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing, and the ghost Fahai in front of him is the next big enemy he has to deal with. This is also the most dangerous level in this ghost show. It's almost the same as a boss. It's ridiculous that people in the world are too obstinate, and the three characters of sinking are stupid, angry, and greedy. The sea of bitterness turns back and is the shore, and there is a spiritual mountain between square inches. Gue Fahai opened his mouth quietly. The hoarse voice was like thunder, echoing endlessly in the theater. There was an extremely strange power in this voice. It seems to be able to penetrate directly into the deepest part of people's hearts, causing people to breed a strong self-suggestion. Everything in this world is false and meaningless. It's better to kill yourself and die for bliss. Many human players below were in a trance for a while, couldn't help but raise their hands, strangled their own necks, and wanted to strangle themselves to death. And at the moment of fierce pinching, the severe pain and suffocation woke up these human players. They looked at each other in blank dismay, their bodies dripping with cold sweat, and their eyes were filled with unspeakable horror. This ghost Fahai is too scary and weird, more terrifying than Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing. A random libretto can actually trick them into committing suicide willingly. Fortunately, the target of Gue Fahai's attack is Gu Yuan, who plays Su Xian. What they suffered were only some strange fluctuations that escaped. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to get rid of this mysterious psychological manipulation. For a moment, everyone's hearts were suspended again, facing such a terrifying and grotesque ghost Fahai. Boss Gu Yuan, can he stand it? On the stage, Gu Yuan's eyes were cold. The strange power in the body boiled up in an unprecedented manner, counteracting the strange attack from Gue Fahai. Ghost Fahai is very powerful, but he's just as terrifying. He's synchronized the complete power of Nie Yan Luo, whose horror level is equivalent to that of a 4-star top-level strange creature. It is not a problem to withstand the attack of Ghost Fahai. Master, why are you here? Gu Yuan raised his head and uttered in a cadence. Old monk Fahai, stationed in Mount Sikkim, clothes and dragon stick left the monastery, came to the south of the Yangtze River to spend time with Su Xian. Master Su, do you know that you will be in great trouble soon? Gue Fahai spoke solemnly. Every word carries a terrible power of demagoguery. want to subtly manipulate Gu Yuan. In Gu Yuan's eyes, a cold and stern light flickered. According to the script of this ghost show, at this time, he should have acted very panicked and asked Fa Hai why. Then, with Fa Hai's suggestion, he used Realgar wine to reveal Bai Sujin's real body of the snake demon. Afterwards, Bai Sujin and Fa Hai each showed their supernatural powers and were suppressed under the Leifeng Pagoda. But Gu Yuan didn't want to do that. He always keeps the hints of the thriller game in mind. The plot direction of a ghost show does not have to be fixed. Can be changed. One of the goals of the mission is to get the deep approval of Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing as much as possible. If he continues to act step by step, it will be difficult to deepen his fragile relationship with Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing. Therefore, he needs to make a choice and change the direction of the ghost show, so as to gain the greatest benefit for himself. And now, it's time for a change. Make it or break it. Think here. Gu Yuan didn't have any hesitation anymore. He took a deep breath, and then sang brand new lines with a sharp accent. Hey, old bald donkey. Don't stir up dissension. Do you want to say that my wife was transformed by the 1,000-year-old snake demon? As soon as the lyrics come out, the entire Drum Tower Theater instantly fell into a strange silence. There was a dead silence. Even the ghost show soundtrack is gone. Gue Fa Hai froze there. On the face that was originally dry and cracked like bark, there was a bit of a humanized look of bewilderment. Standing in the corner of the stage, Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing, who were like sculptures, also turned their heads to look at Gu Yuan in an instant. An indescribable strangeness also surged in the beautiful eyes. The weird creatures in these plays were all confused by Gu Yuan's unreasonable lines. It's like a computer program that was running normally, encountered a very special bug, and fell into a dead state. The human players in the audience were even more stunned. Everyone is stupid. What's happening here? Boss, what does he want to do? This is not the normal direction. Of the Legend of the White Snake. Chapter 24. Gu Yuan stood at the center of the stage, watching the ghost Fa Hai in front of him with extreme vigilance. He has silently connected the mythical space in his body. Once Gue Fa Hai changes, he will immediately summon evil impermanence in Nie Yan Luo, gather all the weird powers and fight against them. After all, this was his first exposure to ghost dramas. What kind of consequences will it lead to if the content of the ghost show is changed without authorization? He didn't know either. Be careful in everything. After a brief silence, the ghost play soundtrack sounded again. It's just that compared with before, the current music has become faster and more intensive, like countless ghosts wailing mournfully at the same time, filled with an indescribable sense of horror. Scarlet blood oozes from the walls around the Drum Tower Theater, slowly flowing to the ground, forming a pool of blood. The terrifying and depressing atmosphere was more than 10 times stronger than before. Let all human players have a spontaneous sense of suffocation. It was as if there were invisible big hands ruthlessly grabbing their throats. It's over. The big guy messed up the ghost show. Now there will be retribution. What to do? I don't want to die. The human players were all extremely frightened, and a heart rose to their throats in an instant. None of them are fools. Naturally, you can see it. Because of Gu Yuan's changes to the lines of the ghost show, this step-by-step ghost show has undergone some unknown and abnormal changes. This also raised the level of danger of the ghost show to a big level quietly. On the stage, Gue Fa Hai's face was gloomy. The already extremely thin face became even more shriveled and droopy. The corners of his mouth cracked rapidly, and the crack almost went all the way to the ears, occupying almost half of his face. Immediately afterwards, this terrifying bloody mouth slowly opened, spitting out a mournful and sharp libretto. Your madam is the 1,000-year-old snake demon. Since Benefactor Su knows it, why do you still want to be beautiful for a while? The cold eyes of Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing in the corner were also focused on Gu Yuan. It seems to be waiting for Gu Yuan's answer. Gu Yuan was already prepared, so he spoke calmly. How about a human? How about a demon? How about love? How about love? I met my wife on the broken bridge, and I gave you an umbrella to get married. My love is as deep as the sea, and my kindness is as heavy as a mountain. Even if the lady is a demon but not a human, I will also love you deeply. Wish to be a lovebird in the world, just be a mandarin duck and not envy immortals. Sentences of self-made libretto burst out. There is a lot of emotion in the lyrics. It was like the real Su Xian was pouring out his inner love to the White Lady. Gue Suzhen's and Gue Xiaoqing's expressions also changed strangely. They looked at Gu Yuan with special emotions like a living person. If we say, for them before, Gu Yuan is just a character in a ghost show. So the current Gu Yuan seems to have surpassed the scope of ghost shows and has really become the official and brother-in-law of the two of them. Somewhere, Gu Yuan could feel that the mysterious connection he had established with Gue Suzhen and Gue Xiaoqing had quietly become extremely solid and solid. It worked. Gu Yuan's bold changes to the plot of the ghost drama have successfully won the deep approval of Gue Suzhen and Gue Xiaoqing. One of the mission objectives achieved a perfect achievement, but while harvesting, there is also a price to pay. This change obviously angered the ghost Fa Hai in front of him. His eyes were stern and fierce, and his pupils were wide open, revealing a kind of indifference that made people palpitate. The cassock on his body swelled up in a strange gesture. The mottled blood on it is also spreading at a terrifying speed. In just the blink of an eye, the originally golden cassock was completely dyed into pure scarlet red. With a sudden movement, the Panlong's staff in his hand hit the ground hard, making a muffled sound. May. Sure. Host. Humans and monsters have different paths. Don't be obsessed. This old monk is merciful and will help you cut off your evil fate. Trembling characters burst out from Gue Fa Hai's bloody mouth. Every character is mixed with extremely terrifying supernatural power, which seems to be able to destroy everything. Gu Yuan looked solemnly. He is very clear. The ghost Fa Hai in front of him has reached a level of terror that is difficult to measure. Already half a foot into the 5-star. To suppress it, Gu Yuan can't have the slightest reservation. He must go all out. He raised his hand slightly, an unknown space, to establish a connection with reality. The two mysterious myths, evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo, appeared directly in front of him. In the moment of appearance, the two of them immediately started to fight back. The black robes around evil impermanence were frantically agitating. The ecstasy chains were spinning at an indescribably terrifying speed, and endless malice permeated out. Nie Yan Luo held up the seal of bones and opened the 5 ghost eyes to the maximum. The scarlet eyes that shot out transformed into countless ferocious ghosts in midair. And Gu Yuan himself, on his face, the weird Su Xian facial makeup twisted and fluctuated. Strange white paper umbrellas were opened, and the dark inscriptions were filled with evil spirits. One person and 2 ghosts are mobilizing all their ghosts to fight the most tragic and direct confrontation with the ghost Fa Hai. Terrifying supernatural forces collided. The weird air like mountains and seas is boiling. The human players in the audience were dizzy for a while. I just felt as if there was an invisible heavy hammer hitting my head fiercely. Scarlet blood seeped out of their eyes, noses, corners of their mouths, and ears. This level of confrontation, even if it is just the aftermath of escape, is not something they can bear. This is like the huge waves caused by the collision of 2 big ships on the boundless sea. For the small boat, it is a disaster. Chapter 25. Gu Yuan frowned. The changes in the ghost show made the horror level of Ghost Fa Hai soar. Evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo, although they are both mysterious myths, have extremely high personalities. But after all, it is not grown up yet. There is no way to form the most direct suppression of Gue Fa Hai. The situation reached a stalemate. And this stalemate seems to have caused some abnormal changes in the Drum Tower Theater. Gu Yuan looked around from the corner of his eye. He can see. The light bulb on the top kept flickering, and the light became extremely weak. It seemed that it would be completely extinguished in the next moment, leaving the theater in deep darkness. The surrounding walls peeled off, yellowing and peeling off at a speed visible to the naked eye, mottled and decayed, as if they had been eroded by a long time in an instant. Those strange creatures who were sitting motionless in the auditorium also slowly stood up. Countless pairs of strange and cold eyes locked on Gu Yuan's body from afar. Seems like it's about to get out of control. It can't go on like this. There are too many of these weird creatures. Once they all completely lose control and besiege me together with Gue Fa Hai, then I won't be able to bear it at all. We must find a way to break this deadlock. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. His eyes turned to Gue Suzhen and Gue Xiaoqing on the other side. Ever since Ghost Fa Hai appeared on the stage, the two of them have been in a state of silence, seemingly becoming statues without any threat. But Gu Yuan is very clear. The two sisters are also that kind of extremely terrifying and weird creatures. Even if it is not as good as Gue Fa Hai, the difference will not be too much. And relying on the mysterious connection in the dark, it is entirely possible for Gu Yuan to pull these two female ghosts into his foreign aid. If the two of them can make a move, it will instantly break the delicate balance that is now stalemate, and become the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Directly suppress the ghost Fa Hai in front of him. Of course, if you want to get Gue Sujin and Gue Xiaoqing's help, simply shouting is not enough. Weird means must be used. Think here. Gu Yuan didn't have any hesitation anymore. Su Xingui's face moved strangely, and streaks of paint flowed onto his lips, instantly staining his lips as scarlet as fresh blood. He took a step forward suddenly, his throat was itchy, and he uttered sharp and high-pitched opera lyrics. I would like to be a lovebird in the sky, and I would like to be Lian Lizzie in the earth. After 10 years of cultivation, we can cross the same boat, and after 100 years of cultivation, we can sleep together. My lady, my husband is in trouble. Why don't you come and help me? This weird opera tone kept echoing in the theater. It was as if a mysterious switch had been pressed. Gue Sujin and Gue Xiaoqing, who had been silent all this time, suddenly turned their heads in unison. There was a strange light in those cold eyes. Officials, brother-in-law, after two shrill shouts. These two female ghosts appeared directly in front of Gu Yuan strangely. In the air, there are 4 slender costumes with water sleeves swimming around. The 2 are extremely pale, like the 3-foot white silk used for hanging. The other 2 showed a strange green and black color, exactly the same as the face of a person who was strangled to death. The 4 water sleeves rolled up from different directions, all wrapped around Gue Fa Hai's body. The terrifying and strange power, using the water sleeve as the medium, poured out crazily. The addition of Gue Sujin and Gue Xiaoqing instantly broke the delicate balance maintained between Gue Fa Hai and Gu Yuan. The blood-stained cassock on Gue Fa Hai's body exploded, turning into rags. His face was contorted and ferocious. His fierce eyes flicked over Gue Sujin and Gue Xiaoqing, and finally focused on Gu Yuan's face. Master Su, if you are greedy for evil fate, you will be punished by heaven, and you will fall into reincarnation forever, and it will be difficult to cross the other shore. Every word was paused, extremely stern, as if it was some kind of weird curse. After saying the last word, his whole body collapsed in an instant. All the flesh and bones seemed to have turned into crumbling mud. Only the panlong staff from before still stood there alone, exuding a gloomy and cold aura. Gu Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, this ghost Fa Hai was killed. There is no such obstacle as Fa Hai. This ghost show should be considered a successful completion. Boom, boom, boom. 3 long gongs sounded in succession. The red curtains on both sides slowly gathered together. This represented the end of the ghost show. The entire Drum Tower Theater regained its calm. The weird creatures in the auditorium below seemed to be restricted again, and were forced to sit back on their seats, unable to attack. The human players looked at each other, and everyone had that indescribable surprise on their faces. Although they are not in good condition, with various injuries, but at least they survived. It's like walking on the edge of the gate of hell. If it weren't for the boss, we would definitely be dead today. There was a human player who whispered something. The other human players also nodded in agreement. They took a deep breath and looked at the illusory figure in the center of the stage, with 120,000 awe in their eyes. It's like looking at a god. Xia Qingzhu's face was full of bitterness. Thinking of her attempt to investigate the details of this kind of person before, she wished she could raise her hand and slap herself fiercely. Is she worthy of investigating the background of this kind of boss? This kind of thing should be left to the headquarters to worry about. On stage, Gu Yuan stepped forward, ready to receive the inheritance left by Gue Fa Hai. This panlong staff was carried by Gue Fa Hai, and it didn't disappear because of Gue Fa Hai's death. Obviously a very special and weird thing. Weird Buddhist staff. Grade: 5-star cursed props. Introduction. This is a Buddhist staff from an unknown place. With some kind of weird power, you have to be careful when you use it to break things. It may also break your own head. Seeing the introduction, Gu Yuan couldn't help but his eyes lit up. 5-star. There is no doubt that this is a very terrifying cursed prop. If it is used as a material, it will definitely be able to create myths and weirdnesses that are more terrifying than evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo. Looking at the entire Oriental mythology, that guy is the only one who is most suitable for using a stick. At this moment, Gu Yuan thought about the object of the next dark myth. On the other side, the figures of Gue Sujin and Gue Xiaoqing also became illusory. It seems that the ghost show is over. They have also completed some kind of mission, and they are about to disappear. Officials Gue Sujin had a shy face, her beautiful eyes were flowing, and there seemed to be a bit of humanized sadness in her eyes. At the last moment when he was about to disappear, he stuffed a red handkerchief into Gu Yuan's hand. I don't see you in a day. It's like 3 autumns. The concubine is waiting for the officials on the other side. I just hope that the officials will not let.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.